Chapter 5:26. In the midst of the fierce battle, a sword came from the west and went straight for Lin Jun's throat. This sword was like a rainbow crossing the sky. When the tip of the sword pointed out, space collapsed. The sword aura made people not dare to take its edge lightly. An absolute expert. If he was stabbed by this sword, even with the protection of the starry sky crown, it would not be a good thing for Lin Jun. Lin Jun did not dare to be careless. He held his spear with both hands and took the phantom god strike head-on. The two air currents collided head-on, and the surging elemental power burst out from the point of contact. The people around were forced back by the torrent of these two forces and dodged in all directions. This made Lin Jun feel a little more at ease. As long as there was no one else causing trouble, Lin Jun was not afraid of anyone, even if the person using the sword was Gennaro. However, during the stalemate, he suddenly felt pain at the back of his head. Runka, a super expert from the Atlantis Empire, rushed over while resisting the elemental torrent. The superior quality sword in his hand slashed down. A white light fell from his head. Because the starry sky crown was blocking it, almost all the power was concentrated on the crown. Crack, crack! A crack ballooned from the crown and then spread out like a spider web. White air currents spewed out, and the huge holy light power contained in it dissipated just like that. This treasure that had been with Lin Jun for a long time was finally completely destroyed in the battle. Crash! The starry sky crown fell to the ground. Gennaro on the opposite side retreated to prevent Lin Jun from going all out at this time. Runka behind him also dodged Lin Jun, who was very likely to go berserk. The two super experts, with a group of experts under them, sneered at Lin Jun. Lin Jun, it's over. Without this treasure, you no longer have that crazy recovery ability. You can't stop us anymore, said Runka. Gennaro took a step forward. Although you killed many of our warriors, you are a true martial artist. Out of respect for martial artists, take your woman and commit suicide. Lin Jun looked down at the shattered pieces of the starry sky crown, then looked up. What if I say no? Say no. Then, the ending must be something you don't want to see. You have to know that your woman is very beautiful, and we are all normal men. Hee. If that's your choice, we'll be very happy. After this bloody battle, the 300-plus Fate warriors from the two countries had been reduced to less than 100 people. To be honest, they hated Lin Jun to the bone. However, at this point, no one wanted to risk their lives. That was why they continued to pester Lin Jun, hoping that he would be able to see the situation clearly and commit suicide. Facing their ridicule, Lin Jun seemed to be very angry. However, at this moment, he seemed to be somewhat powerless. He staggered a bit. Obviously, the battle just now had almost overdrawn his strength. Gennaro and the others also saw this opportunity. Seeing that Lin Jun was about to die, they immediately roared and pounced on him like a pack of wolves. Everyone rushed forward together, some at the front, some at the back, and the battle line stretched out. Lin Jun stood within the circle of light. He raised one of his hands and sneered. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for, and it was his only chance. Space slash. This was the big move that Lin Jun didn't dare to use easily. He finally used it in front of people for the first time. In an instant, countless 1-meter-long crescent-shaped space cracks appeared in the air. When it bloomed, the dark blue space turbulence in the alternate space loomed, rampaging in the black space of the universe. The crack in front didn't wait for the space to automatically heal, and the cracks behind followed closely behind. More than 100 space cracks crisscrossed and moved forward at sublight speed. Unlike the whistling sound of wind during an ordinary attack, you couldn't hear anything at this time. This was because their speed was too fast, far exceeding the speed of sound. A dense net of cuts, a roaring river of death. What is this? The person charging at the front was Lanka. He was also in a competitive relationship with Gennaro. Of course, he didn't want to fall behind. However, he never expected that what welcomed him was a space crack. No weapon or armor could withstand the power of space. If it was just one or two cracks, he might still be able to dodge them. However, this time, there were more than 100 cracks, and they were all here to kill them. They could only blame themselves for being too careless. They didn't expect Lin Jun to be preparing this move. Their collective charging formation was basically positioning themselves for Lin Jun to kill. They could only let out a terrified roar. The Lantis Empire prodigy, Lanka, died on the spot. Lanka's death was just the beginning. After that, large groups of martial artists died tragically under Lin Jun's space slash. 57 Rakshasa Empire martial artists and 60 Lantis martial artists all died under this attack. The only one who resisted was the Rakshasa Empire martial artist, Kinaro. Kinaro lived up to his name as a late-stage nebula. He flashed and moved within the space slash. With his super strength, he actually dodged most of the space slashes. However, that was all. Under Lin Jun's control, the space slash spun forward without any blind spots. This was Kinaro's limit. However, he couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept being killed by Lin Jun. He wanted to fight back even before he died. Just as a space slash was about to cut him in half, he threw the sword in his hand out. Lin Jun used the space slash and almost drained himself. He couldn't dodge Kinaro's sword at all, and the sword pierced through his chest. The space slash disappeared into the night sky, and blood mist filled the air. Lin Jun's astral power was almost drained at this moment, and he was seriously injured. His body slowly slid down. Feng Qingwan supported Lin Jun's body from behind and leaned against him on the ground. Lin Jun forcibly pulled the sword out of his chest and used the remaining light power to heal the wound. He gave it his all and finally obtained a huge victory. However, it also took away almost all of Lin Jun's power. Clap, clap, clap. In the starry sky, there was a series of clapping sounds, as expected of the first place of the space steel on Levitating Island. I didn't expect you to be so strong. Fortunately, I was prepared and let those two idiots Gennaro and Lanka take the lead. Otherwise, we would have been the ones cut into pieces by your space slash. In the void, the Mantis commander's double-edged sword tore the space apart and walked out of the alternate space. Behind him, the Beetle commander and the Scorpion commander were following closely. They had caught up with him at some point. Lin Jun was in a trance. He didn't expect the enemy to come so quickly. There was no need to fight this battle. Lin Jun almost had no combat power left. Even if he wanted to escape with Feng Qingwan's current situation wouldn't allow it. More and more Zergs arrived, and soon the sky was filled with them. Lin Jun looked back at Feng Qingwan, but she just leaned her head on Lin Jun's shoulder with her eyes closed, as if she was enjoying the last bit of warmth. Luaner, if you're tired, take a rest. Her eyelashes fluttered, and she opened her eyes and stared at Lin Jun for a while. Then she gently pushed him away and stood up. No need. I've rested enough. After this, I have endless time to rest. You, Lin Jun, remember what you said. Promise me that you'll never forget about your little phoenix. I promise you. Goodbye, my love. In the phoenix's eyes, a drop of blood fell down. Time seemed to be eternal at this moment, and this scene was forever engraved in Lin Jun's heart. After saying this, the warmth on Feng Qingwan's face disappeared, and she regained her demeanor as the leader of a gang. Turning around lightly, Feng Qingwan walked directly to the Mantis commander and the others. You've been scheming to kill me, but unfortunately man's schemes are never as good as God's. Didn't you ask clearly what my natal galactic beast was before you killed me? No. Aren't you a fire phoenix? The Mantis commander instinctively felt that something was wrong, and he slowly stepped back. Ha ha ha. You know that it's a fire phoenix, but don't you know that the fire of a phoenix can burn everything? It can even vaporize trash like you. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Feng Qingwan, who was severely injured and unable to move, suddenly started running. Her red dress was dancing in the wind like a dancing flame. Red, orange, white, green. Hiss. Feng Qingwan jumped up, opened her arms, and the flames on her body rose to the sky. In the void, a gigantic and incomparably beautiful phoenix true body appeared, bringing with it raging flames that could incinerate the heavens and destroy the world. With an aura that could destroy everything, it rushed towards the group of insect tribe members. The The scorching heat wave swept through everything, and at this moment, even the void seemed to be burning. Wah! Oh no, this is the natal flame of the fire phoenix. Feng Qingwan is going to commit suicide. Everyone run. But at this moment, there was no way for them to run. The beautiful phoenix in the void was getting bigger and bigger, and it was singing loudly. Endless green flames lit up the sky, and waves after waves surged outwards. Nothing could stop it. Those Zergs who wanted to be the first to attack were instantly vaporized, and not even ashes were left behind. The Zergs at the back turned and ran. But how could they escape from the flames? No matter if it was Stellar Stage, Black Hole Stage, or Nebula Stage, they could not resist the flames at all, and they disappeared in waves. The Mantis commander gritted his teeth and suddenly shook his hand, and the Beetle commander beside him was thrown away. The flames swallowed the Beetle commander. This was the fourth Zerg commander that Feng Qingwan had killed. The Mantis commander attacked again, and the Scorpion commander beside him was thrown away to block the flames. The flames surged again and swallowed the Scorpion commander. This was the fifth Zerg commander that Feng Qingwan had killed. The Mantis commander's body was also burning. He immediately transformed into a mantis and got rid of his burning clothes, but his body was still burnt black. But finally, before the flames burned him to death, he escaped from the sea of fire. He did not dare to stay any longer, and he turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the starry sky. Tens of thousands of Zerg soldiers, except for the Mantis commander, who was seriously injured and escaped, were all killed by Feng Qingwan's final attack. Lin Jun stood under the parasol tree in a daze, looking at the night sky, at the little phoenix flying in the flames. The slim figure hovered in the sky above Lin Jun's head, as if unwilling to leave. Chirp, chirp. The last two chirps sounded as if it was bidding farewell to Lin Jun. Specks of starlight sprinkled down, and the flames dissipated. Little Phoenix's figure could no longer be seen. Only Lin Jun was left leaning against the parasol tree. A cool breeze blew gently, carrying with it a lingering fragrance. That was the last scent she left behind. In the sky, the moon rose from nowhere. It was blood red, just like the cinnabar mole between her brows. Chapter 5:27. The ups and downs of the battle in the chaotic Star River finally came to an end. No one expected that the person who got the first place on the killing list turned out to be Lin Jun, a small feudal lord from the Sky River Empire, an elementary civilization in the Sanjiang Galaxy Federation. It can be said that this Lin Jun is not completely unknown. At the very beginning, he got the first place on the killing list in one fell swoop, shocking everyone. However, after that, Lin Jun fell silent and was surpassed by countless people. Just a few months ago, his score was still the last, and he became a laughingstock. However, life seems to be spent in ups and downs. At the last moment, Lin Jun actually reached the first place again. He surpassed Yi Hua, surpassed Tianxi, and even surpassed Feng Qingwan. In the end, Lin Jun's killing score was more than 360,000 insect soldiers. This result was largely due to Lin Jun's natural devouring ability, which allowed him to swallow a large number of insect soldiers. It was at that moment that he jumped to the first place. Lin Jun got the first place, but in fact, the real first place belongs to someone else. This person is Feng Qingwan. Feng Qingwan's actual killing number is 500,000 insect soldiers. Moreover, among the 7 insect commanders, Feng Qingwan alone killed 5 of them. She is worthy of being the first person in the chaotic Star River. It's a pity that Feng Qingwan's score can't be counted because she used her phoenix true body to ignite the heaven-burning fire. Although she killed a large number of enemies, she also died because of it, leaving her peerless beauty in the chaotic Star River forever. However, other people don't know how Feng Qingwan died. They only came to a conclusion from the changes in the chaotic Star River at the last moment. That is, Feng Qingwan used a forbidden technique and died together with a large group of insect soldiers. Although the Fire Chilance people didn't win, the insect soldiers didn't win either. After all, they lost 6 commanders and 3 mother nests. Their strength has also been greatly reduced. This victory is really meaningless. In the light corridor, next to the lifeline of the human territory, two figures slowly came. Yihua, do you think Feng Qingwan is really dead? Tianci asked. Of course, she's dead. The dimensional universe has already given such a conclusion. How can it be false? Yihua's face was full of exhaustion. He was walking in the void, no longer looking like a handsome gentleman in the past. Alas, it's a pity that such a beauty died. It makes people unhappy. Although I don't want the first place to fall into the hands of others, it's said that you and Feng Qingwan are a couple. Don't you feel sad? Yihua was silent for a while. Feng Qingwan, you? Tianci muttered a few words. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Yihua, I remember you once said that you have two pursuits. One is to reach the peak of martial arts, and the other is Feng Qingwan. When these two pursuits of yours clash, what will you choose? Yihua did not speak for a long time. After a while, he slowly said, I have already made my choice. Tianci was stunned when he heard this. Suddenly, he gave a strange smile. I seem to know something. Yihua, when Feng Qingwan was being chased by others, she was ranked first on the killing list. Yihua turned to look at Tianci. What do you want to say? Hee. Don't worry, I won't secretly open the dimensional universe record. Everyone knows, so let's not beat around the bush. Feng Qingwan doesn't like you, and she's a threat to your position as the first on the killing list. What I know is that someone from the insect race has been reporting Feng Qingwan's location to them. Who will benefit the most from getting rid of Feng Qingwan? I don't think I need to say it. So, the person who is reporting to the insect race is actually you, right? Cold light flashed in Yihua's eyes. Tianci, I think you probably don't know what it means to cause trouble from the mouth. No. Don't threaten me like this. We are actually on the same path. I have also been thinking about plotting against Lin Jun. But the difference between us is that I didn't succeed, but you did. But there are similarities between us. That is, neither of us got the first place. Now, the first place is Lin Jun. So you don't have to worry about me. I won't leak it out, and I also hope that things will turn out this way. Then how do you guarantee it? Yihua asked. 10 billion universe crystal is all my property. I will give you half of it. Even if the matter of Feng Qingwan was done by both of us, I still have a request. That is, we can't let Lin Jun get the first place reward. You mean? Yihua retracted his murderous intent. He wanted to hear what Tianci had to say. It's very simple. If Lin Jun wants to go back to Fire Qilin to get the reward, then he must pass through this light corridor. We just have to guard this light corridor and not let Lin Jun have the chance to go back to Fire Qilin. Then, he can only stay in Chaos Star River forever. Yihua frowned slightly. This is not a good idea. Don't tell me we have to guard here forever. Of course not. Since you can reveal Feng Qingwan's location, then you can also reveal Lin Jun's location. The Mantis Commander is still alive. There are also 4 mother nests in Chaos Star River. Soon, the insect race will recover a lot of strength. As long as we give Lin Jun's location to him, under the pursuit of the insect race, do you think Lin Jun will have a chance to survive? We just have to wait here for the good news of his death. Believe me, we won't stay here for long. Yihua thought for a while and nodded slightly. You are right. But in that case, we can't go back to Fire Qilin to get the reward. This matter is easy to handle. As long as you and I say in the dimensional universe that we need to prevent the insect race from entering the Empire through the light corridor, we will guard here for a while until we are safe. This way, not only will the Empire not blame us, they will also increase our reward. Moreover, the people will also stand on our side. You're the idol of the Empire after all. After saying that, Tianci smiled. In this way, we can guard and cultivate together. You don't have to worry about me revealing your secret. You can also be at ease as the idol of the people and be admired by tens of thousands of people. Hearing Tianci's words, Yihua suddenly smiled. What you said is very reasonable. I have to say that you are very good at reading people's minds. In that case, we will stay. Anyway, wherever we cultivate is still cultivation. Lin Jun, that bastard, How can he steal away a woman that I, Yihua, can't even get? I will report his location and let Mantis accompany him to have some fun. I believe that after this matter, Mantis will hate him to the bone. Okay, then it's settled. After reporting his location, you should think of an excuse. I will also borrow your east wind to become famous in the Empire and become a hero. Don't let people think that I, Tianzi, am a despicable villain. There is no need to think that. You are a despicable villain. Haha, the same goes for you. A real villain and a hypocrite. I wonder which one is worse. Ever since Lin Jun planted the parasol tree on Trash Planet, there was no more trash. This was because Lin Jun knew that the little phoenix did not like dirty environments. She was so noble, elegant, pure, and proud. There was never a speck of dust on her red clothes. Even when she was a little phoenix, she spent most of her time every day tidying her feathers. Therefore, Lin Jun took away all the trash and left behind a parasol tree. Furthermore, he transplanted many flowers and plants from the dark star space, making this planet full of life. Thinking of that proud and shameless gang leader, Lin Jun's eyes had a trace of warmth. Beep beep. Master, someone in the dimensional universe left a message for you. It is your wife, Su Mingwe. Yu Er and Ning had talked to him once during this period of time. Everything was fine at home. Lin Jun also told them about Feng Qingwan. He thought that his two wives would be dissatisfied, but they were not. Instead, they comforted Lin Jun. Knowing that Lin Jun was in a bad mood during this period of time, they did not disturb him. They only left messages in the dimensional universe sometimes. Yu Er's message was, "Hubby, don't think too much. Without Sister Qingwan, we can't even see our hubby. Of course, we won't blame her at all. Sister Ning and I are not ordinary women, and our hubby is destined to be at the top of the pyramid. We don't like too many women, but we know that we must cherish the people who are sincere to you. Since you think that Sister Qingwan is still here, then you can follow your path and pursue it. We can wait for you at home. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, as long as you don't forget that we are still here." Lin Jun gently cut off the dimensional universe. His heart was filled with warmth. What a considerate wife. He had stayed on this planet for a month. Firstly, the Mantis Commander's last attack had indeed injured him very badly. He needed to heal his injuries. The second reason was a bit mysterious. He did not know if it was because of his infatuation, reality, or illusion. Lin Jun always felt that his fate with the little phoenix would never end like this. Although the dimensional universe system had concluded that Feng Qingwan was dead, Lin Jun could not accept such a conclusion no matter what. He could not accept that the little phoenix was dead. He would not allow her to die. "Chris, haven't you found any valuable clues yet?" Lin Jun was a little impatient. "Master, there are some clues." "Oh, tell me about it." "It's like this, Master. If you want to revive someone, the most likely way to succeed is also the stupidest way. That is to learn the law of time and master the method of reversing time. Reversing time and space, there may be a chance to revive the dead." Lin Jun was stunned. Reversing time and space and reversing time sounded feasible, but how far was he from that step? It would probably take too long. Lin Jun did not dare to gamble, and he could not wait that long. "Is there any other way?" "Master, I now have your Universe First Bank's Fire Qilin Supreme 3-star user authority. I can know some information. What I can tell you is that if you have a way to upgrade your user authority to 5-star Supreme, then I can look up an important piece of information." "What information? Don't keep me in suspense." Chapter 528. Lin Jun's interest was piqued when he heard Kristen's words. "You're saying that if I deposit another 20 billion cosmos crystals in my bank account, you'll be able to find information about the Phoenix's nirvana? Can the dead really come back to life?" "Master, Phoenixes are different from ordinary galactic beasts. There is a saying of nirvana, but it shouldn't be a simple matter. Because I can't access the information, I can't give you more accurate information for now." Kristen paused for a moment. "Also, I have to correct your mistake. It's not 20 billion cosmos crystals, but 40 billion cosmos crystals. You've squandered only 10 billion cosmos crystals of your 30 billion cosmos crystals. Lin Jun remembered that he had spent almost all of his cosmos crystals. Just the sapling of the parasol tree alone had cost him a third of his fortune. 40 billion cosmos crystals was definitely not a small number. Unless Lin Jun had the same opportunity as last time, 40 billion cosmos crystals was an astronomical figure that was almost impossible to achieve. However, Lin Jun was also someone who had seen great winds and waves. What he was most afraid of was not having a goal and not having a solution. Now that he knew that earning 40 billion cosmos crystals would allow him to obtain information regarding the Phoenix's nirvana, he was immediately motivated. If I want to make money, I'm afraid I can't stay in the chaotic Star River. I have to return to the Fire Qilin. Lin Jun thought for a moment and decided to go back, although he didn't really want to leave the Phoenix Perch Planet. Phoenix Perch Planet was the name Lin Jun had given it. This small planet was the habitat of phoenixes. However, in order to obtain the secret of the Phoenix's nirvana as soon as possible, Lin Jun had to go back. Whether it was accepting missions or becoming a star transference master, he had to earn 40 billion cosmos crystals. After staying at the parasol tree for another day, Lin Jun finally decided to leave. Little Phoenix, I'm leaving. He gently stroked the parasol tree trunk. This was Feng Qinghuan's favorite place to lean on. Although the dimensional universe system has announced your death, I won't believe it. You won't leave so heartlessly. No matter where you are, I'll bring you back to my side at any cost. Now, I'm going to find a way to help you achieve nirvana. If this still doesn't work, then I'll go and learn the law of time. Even if I have to reverse time, I'll find you. If this still doesn't work, then, if that black hole that devours my soul appears again one day, I'll just have to live again. At that time, there definitely wouldn't be such an outcome today. Lin Jun thought to himself. Then, he turned around and boarded the small spaceship. After a month of recuperation, Lin Jun's injuries were completely healed. His condition was as good as new, and it was time to go back. The small flying ship lifted off, and Lin Jun embarked on his return journey. In the beginning, Lin Jun's flying speed wasn't too fast. However, on the spaceship's radar, there were actually pursuers. Master, we've discovered an insectoid warship 15 star miles behind us. It's coming for us. Lin Jun frowned. He hadn't expected the insectoid warships to return to hunt him down. But how had they managed to lock onto his position? He had clearly left Phoenix Perch. Accelerate to sublight speed and shake them off. The insectoid warships are big. They can't fly fast in this astral river. Lin Jun's small spaceship immediately accelerated. After reaching sublight speed, he quickly shook off the insectoid warship. However, every time Lin Jun slowed down, the insectoid warship would immediately tail him. Midway, Lin Jun even used many methods to shake them off, but it didn't take long for the insectoids to appear again. Someone is providing my position to the insectoids. Lin Jun quickly came to this conclusion. Otherwise, there was no way to explain this phenomenon. Currently, there were only 3 people from the Fire Qilin Empire in the Astral River. Other than him, there were also Yi Hua and Tianxi. There is no doubt that this was done by one of the two. It could be anyone, but it was more likely that the two of them had joined forces. After all, these 2 people had some conflicts with Lin Jun. Moreover, Lin Jun's current ranking on the kill list was above them. 2 shameless bastards. They actually used such a despicable method. Perhaps when Qing Yuan was being hunted down, their shadows were also involved. As long as I return to the Empire, I will definitely expose their actions. Don't slow down. Maintain sublight speed. Target the bright corridor. This way, even if the insectoids know my target, they won't be able to catch up. The small spaceship's speed was pushed to the maximum and headed straight for the bright corridor. This move was indeed effective. The insectoid warship was shaken off and no longer appeared on the radar screen. Lin Jun used half a month to finally return to the bright corridor from the garbage treatment plant. Ahead, the bright corridor was already in sight. Warning! Warning! The entrance to the bright corridor is guarded by powerful life forms. Who is it? They actually blocked the bright corridor? One of them has a star power index of 900, confirmed to be Tianxi. The other has a star power index of 3,400. Confirmed to be Yihua. Lin Jun's heart was somewhat cold. These two bitches actually blocked him here and then reported his location to the insectoids. This way, he would not be able to return to the Fire Qilin Empire. Perhaps under their operation, the Fire Qilin Empire's first prize would not be awarded to him. Although in Lin Jun's heart, the first prize belonged to the little phoenix. Really shameless to the extreme. You guys definitely have to bear a considerable responsibility for the death of the little phoenix. Especially Yihua. These situations had already explained too many problems. If not for Yihua, the little phoenix would not have been injured to such an extent. Moreover, at the last moment, why would the opponents of Tianxi and Yihua, the Mantis Commander and the Locust Commander, appear on the battlefield where Lin Jun and the little phoenix were besieged? Because they went easy on him and borrowed the hands of the insectoids to eliminate him and the little phoenix. Therefore, the final besiegement scene appeared. After figuring this out, Lin Jun only felt anger rising in his heart. However, he still could not meet force with force. Tianxi was one thing, but Yihua's luggage actually reached more than 3,000 points. He was indeed a genius of the late stage of the nebula system. Lin Jun currently only had 1,000 points of star power. He was definitely not his opponent. Moreover, Yihua was also on the 9th row of the space steel. He was also proficient in the law of space. Besides not being able to use the space slash, he was also well aware of Lin Jun's methods. He could not use the space slash to plot against him. If he went over now, it would be no different from throwing his life away. This matter is definitely not over. I will definitely avenge the little phoenix's death. Lin Jun stopped the spaceship. He could not help but feel somewhat worried. If he did not leave through the light corridor, then he would not be able to leave the chaotic Star River. If he went anywhere else, he would have to walk for countless years. Before he could think of a way to leave the chaotic Star River, the small spaceship's coordinates showed that the insectoid battleship was approaching again. There had never been an insectoid so brazenly approaching the light corridor. This was simply the most direct provocation to the Fire Qilin. If not for Yihua and Tianxi providing his coordinates, the insectoids would not have been able to catch up. Helpless, Lin Jun turned the spaceship around and once again flew into the depths of the chaotic Star River. Haha, brother Yihua, did you see that? Lin Jun is afraid. He does not dare to walk through the light corridor again. He ran back like a coward. Yihua sneered and nodded. Of course. Seeing that we are here, of course he would not dare to come over and throw his life away. However, this brat is also quite clever. If he was a little more reckless and wanted to fight me, then I would be very happy to personally kill him. I dare say that if I was alone, Lin Jun would definitely dare to fight me. However, with you here, he would definitely not try to smash a rock with an egg. Tianxi was still very self-aware. Whether he was willing to accept it or not, he had to admit that Lin Jun's combat power was not inferior to his at all. The brat that he thought he could easily squash to death had already grown to a height that was on par with him. The rest is up to you. Keep Mantis informed of Lin Jun's information. You also have the locator, right? You must kill Lin Jun in the chaotic Star River. What about you? Tianxi asked. Of course I have to seize the time to cultivate. In the end, people can only rely on themselves. Tianxi nodded. You can rest assured and cultivate. Leave Lin Jun to me. I will fight with him now. I do not believe that he can pilot the spaceship and travel in the chaotic Star River forever. As long as he stops, there will definitely be a day when he will be captured by the insectoids. Yihua nodded and looked at the starry sky. In the distance, there was a dancing sky that seemed to be in the shape of a phoenix. Blue Phoenix, do not blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for loving the wrong person. Since you have made your choice, then I will send him to accompany you. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Lin Jun looked at the spaceship that was persistently following him with a headache. These insectoids seemed to want to fight with him. It had been almost 2 months, and they had been continuously chasing him. In the middle of the chase, there were even spaceships that took over. Looking at this situation, it seemed that they would chase him until the end of time. Lin Jun could not fight with them forever. He still had to cultivate and earn money. He did not know what the Phoenix's nirvana was, but he could imagine that the longer he delayed, the harder it would be. I have to think of a way. Lin Jun closed his eyes and thought for a while. Then he said to Chris, Chris, you said that they're chasing me and locking onto my position. What is their basis? Master, I know this. They are using the dimensional universe's positioning, which is my position. No matter how you hide, you'll not be able to escape from their eyes. Is there a way to solve this? I need to earn money. Even if my main body cannot leave, my doppelganger must at least leave this place. Otherwise, there's no money to be earned. It is not that there is no way. You can separate your main body from your doppelganger and then hide in an absolutely safe place. Let them think that you will not be able to leave. This way, they will let down their guard, and your doppelganger will have a chance to leave through the corridor of light. Lin Jun nodded. This was also his idea. Cultivating and earning money were two different things. He wanted to let his doppelganger find a chance to leave the chaotic Star River while his main body attracted the attention of the enemy. That would require an absolutely safe place. I still have to stay in the chaotic Star River, and I cannot be caught by them. Where is a suitable place? Chapter 5:29. Lin Jun thought of a place, floating island. There was no safer place in the entire chaotic Star River. The reason was simple. It was the most dangerous place. Ordinary people could not go there at all. The dense meteorite belt and space storm could stop almost everyone, but Lin Jun still had hope of passing through. Because he had learned planetary teleportation. Lin Jun had been to that meteorite belt before. It was about 120,000 kilometers wide, slightly closer than the distance from Earth to the Moon. Lin Jun's current planetary teleportation distance was about 105,000 kilometers. Lin Jun found that the distance depended on the amount of star power one had. He currently had 1,050 points of star power, so the distance he could teleport was about 105,000 kilometers. I still need 150 points of star power to pass through that space storm in one go. My current level of star power is not enough, and I have reached the peak of the stellar stage. If I want to increase my star power, I can only rely on the dark star. Lin Jun was currently at the peak of the stellar stage, but he was still a little bit away from the black hole stage. Moreover, he did not dare to advance to the black hole stage so easily. He always felt that the black hole stage was very important to him. If he did not make sufficient preparations, entering it rashly could lead to disastrous consequences. The black hole stage in his previous life still gave Lin Jun a lot of psychological pressure. He was not afraid, but he still needed to make sufficient preparations before attempting to break through. His current strength was not enough. On the spaceship, he began to focus all his attention on the dark star. The dark star was currently in the early stages of the Mesozoic era. At this stage, it was not easy to let the dark star grow quickly. The energy of the heart of vegetation had gradually been digested. If he wanted the dark star to advance, he would need to give it enough nutrients to make its life force more vigorous. Lin Jun already had a source of nutrients. It was the 100,000 insectoids that his doppelganger transformed into the fire Qilin. If Lin Jun's doppelganger slowly digested these insectoids, his doppelganger's star power might reach 1,500 points. However, that would be useless. He still had to enter floating island with his real body. Lin Jun had been thinking about the mind steal and time steal on Levitating Island for a long time. Since he had decided to hide on Levitating Island, he had to use his real body to study them. Therefore, these 100,000 Zerg warriors could only become fertilizer for the Dark Star. It had to be said that the life force of these insectoids was extremely exuberant. After being buried deep in the soil of the Dark Star by Lin Jun, their flesh and blood began to be absorbed by the plants of the Dark Star. The soil began to become fertile, and the number of microorganisms in the river increased. The seaweed swayed in the water, and Lin Jun even saw small trilobites appearing. Lin Jun slowly cultivated on the spaceship. He continued to drive the spaceship around in circles with the insectoids, waiting for the Dark Star to grow. His astral power was increasing day by day. In the beginning, his astral power could only increase by 1 point a day. But in the later stages, the nutrients began to evaporate and his astral power could increase by 2 or 3 points a day. 2 months. Under the nourishment of these 100,000 insectoids, the dark star advanced from the early stage of the Mesozoic era to the middle stage of the Mesozoic era. This small improvement gave Lin Jun 100 points of astral power. In addition to the increase in these 2 months, Lin Jun's astral power had reached 1,280 points. That's enough. When Lin Jun finished testing his astral power, he was overjoyed. This amount of astral power was enough to pass through the meteorite belt of Levitating Island. After 4 months of exile, Lin Jun had had enough of this kind of life. He couldn't wait to give it a try. Master, there's a damaged asteroid ahead. You can let your clone leave here and fly to that asteroid to hide. Then, you can continue to attract the insectoid army with your main body. When the situation calms down, your clone can go to the light corridor and find an opportunity to leave. Okay, let's do that. The cabin of the small spaceship opened. Lin Jun's clone left the spaceship, entered the starry sky, and quickly flew to the asteroid. After that, Lin Jun deliberately didn't enter sublight speed for a while to attract the insectoid spaceship. Then, he accelerated and went straight to Levitating Island. The clone crawled in a valley on the asteroid, watching the huge insectoid centipede warship fly by in the distant sky. No one noticed its existence. When the starry sky calmed down completely, the clone returned the way it came and went straight to the light corridor. After leaving Levitating Island for nearly half a year, this place had become a forbidden area. The whistling space storms and meteorite belts prevented anyone from approaching Levitating Island. Even spaceships didn't dare to pass through here, lest they get sucked into that chaotic place and become fertilizer for space. The Mantis commander stood in front of the control panel of the spaceship, staring at the radar screen with a murderous look. That's great. This Lin Jun is out of his mind. He actually ran to Levitating Island. It seems that our pursuit has worked. This guy must have run out of energy blocks and ran here in a panic. There's a meteorite belt in front of him, so he can't move forward. We're very likely to catch him. As he spoke, there were still burn marks on his body, which were caused by Feng Qingluan's last attack. They hadn't healed yet, which showed how powerful the Phoenix's life flame was. The group of nebula stage insectoids beside him were also rubbing their hands. Such a long pursuit was not only a torture for the escapee, but also for the pursuer. They also hoped that this kind of life would end soon, so that they could kill Lin Jun and go back to live a good life. They didn't know why the Supreme Mantis Commander in their hearts had such a big grudge against Lin Jun. They only knew that in the last war, the insectoids had actually suffered a loss. The 6 commanders they lost were all elites of the insectoid race. In this chaotic galaxy, which was almost impossible for nebula stage experts to reach, the insectoid commander was the strongest. Commander, look, his spaceship has stopped. On the radar screen, it showed that Lin Jun's spaceship had stopped. The Mantis commander was overjoyed. Quick, he must have run out of energy. Hurry up. The centipede spaceship accelerated and quickly approached Levitating Island. Lin Jun has been found. I've sensed his energy fluctuations. His star power index is about close to 1,300. The Mantis commander frowned slightly. This guy was still at the peak of the star level. How could his strength have increased so quickly? He couldn't let this guy live. Otherwise, he would avenge his little girlfriend sooner or later. Today was the day to settle this once and for all. Seeing the centipede spaceship from afar, Lin Jun didn't look at it. Instead, he turned to face Levitating Island. Chris, calculate the distance. Master, the straight-line distance from here to Levitating Island is 119,500 kilometers. The inner diameter of Levitating Island is about 1,000 kilometers. If you use planetary teleportation now, it's very likely that you will rush directly into the space storm on the surface. So, you must pay attention to where you land. Don't use too much force. Don't worry. If it's that stupid to rush to the other side, I might as well die. Lin Jun looked back at the insectoid spaceship that was rapidly approaching and then gave it the middle finger. F***CK. This guy is cursing you, Commander. He really doesn't know what's good for him. I'll cut off that finger of yours and eat it as candy later. The insectoids were all cursing, but the mantis commander felt that something was amiss. Why was Lin Jun so calm? Prepare the energy cannons to fire. I want to see what this guy is up to. The mantis commander gave the order. An energy cannon shot out from the centipede's mouth. But just as the energy ball approached, Lin Jun suddenly disappeared. Teleportation. He teleported away. Is this guy an idiot? Where can he teleport to in this vast starry sky? Search with the radar. He must still be nearby. The radar waves covered 1,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers, and 50,000 kilometers. Increase the range to 100,000 kilometers. The mantis commander roared in exasperation. The radar reached 100,000 kilometers, but there was not a single living being within that range. Seeing that the duck at his mouth had flown away, the mantis was fuming. He immediately logged into the dimensional universe. Tianci, find out where Lin Jun is right now. Now. After a while, Tianci replied, I've already locked onto Lin Jun's position. He's on the floating island opposite you. What? You said he entered the floating island? How did he pass through the meteorite belt? The mantis was dumbfounded. He could not figure out at all. I can't give you an answer. You were there, so you should know better than me. Secret space technique. It must be the secret space technique. This guy has mastered the ability he learned on the floating island. I didn't expect him to be so bold as to return there. The mantis's hands were trembling. He did not expect that after such a long chase, this would be the result. Lin Jun could enter the floating island. No matter how strong he was, he could not pass through the meteorite belt. He could only watch from the outside. However, he did not want all his hard work to be in vain, so he ordered loudly. Come on, move the rest of the Zerg hives here. Produce new warriors in this starry sky. Surround the floating island. As long as Lin Jun doesn't come out, surround him. If he doesn't come out, surround him. If he doesn't come out in a year, surround him. If he doesn't come out in 100 years, surround him for 100 years. I don't believe he can stay here forever. Now, he was the only commander of the Zerg in the disordered galaxy. All the Zerg were under his command. Naturally, he could do whatever he wanted. Thus, the Zerg's massive migration began. The remaining 4 hives began to move. They all settled down near the floating island. All the insectoids were gathered here. Above and below, from all angles, they had surrounded the entire floating island. Chapter 530. What? Lin Jun returned to Sky Island? After hearing this news, even Yi Hua was dumbstruck. He would never have dreamed that Lin Jun would be able to come up with such a plan to escape. However, it was indeed the best plan. Yi Hua, who had also ascended to the 9th level of the space steel, naturally knew about the planetary teleportation. If he could learn it, he would be able to teleport 300,000 kilometers away, which was almost equivalent to moving at the speed of light. It would be of great help to him. But in the end, Lin Jun had succeeded. Yi Hua had not thought of this point, but Lin Jun had used it to successfully escape the pursuit of the insectoids. Closing his eyes, Yi Hua said in a low voice, things aren't looking good. If Lin Jun can continue to reap benefits on Levitating Island, his strength will increase by leaps and bounds. Although he won't be a threat to me for now, in the long run, he'll become a huge hidden danger. He probably knows the truth of the matter and will definitely think about revenge for Feng Qingwan. It could be said that as long as Lin Jun has the ability, he will definitely come back to take revenge on me. Yi Hua opened his eyes and asked Tianci, what's the insectoid's reaction? Tianci spread out his hands. The Zerg clan has erupted. All the mother nests have migrated there, completely surrounding the floating island. Now those who are left outside are working Zergs. They are collecting resources outside. All the combat bodies are there. Mantis and Lin Jun are going all out. They won't rest until one of them is dead. Oh, Mantis is that ruthless? Yes, I heard that Feng Qingwan and Lin Jun did a lot of damage to Mantis. His hatred for Lin Jun is no less than ours. That's why I said you don't need to worry too much, Yi Hua. Sky Island is not safe inside, and there are spatial storms. Whether or not Lin Jun can come out alive is another matter. Even if he comes out, the insectoids can't even defeat the Imperial concentration camp. What can Lin Jun do? He will definitely die at the hands of the insectoids. There is no way he can take revenge on us. Yi Hua shook his head. You cannot be careless in all matters. Caution is the parent of safety. Tianzi said, even if what you said is possible, Lin Jun doesn't have the ability to come out for the time being. We are absolutely safe for the time being. You're right. Lin Jun won't be able to come out anytime soon, so there's no point in us staying here any longer. Yi Hua stood up and said, the cultivation conditions here aren't that good. Similarly, I'll have to spend a lot of time cultivating. I'd rather return to the Empire. Also, don't forget that we still haven't received our rewards. Now that Lin Jun isn't coming back, shouldn't his reward be given to me? If you take first place, then the second place marquee position and the mid-grade heaven artifact will be mine. Haha, I hope so. If you want to stay, then stay. I'm going back to the Empire. I'm leaving too. Lin Jun can't come out, so what's the point of me staying here? To be a guard of the tunnel? I don't have that much free time. There are so many beautiful women in the Empire waiting for me to pamper them. Haha. Yi Hua smiled, and the two of them walked into the tunnel of light. He turned back to look at the chaotic Star River, and he couldn't help but feel emotional. Things had changed in the past 2 years, but fortunately, he had kept his first place. He was still the high and mighty Yi Hua, the idol of tens of thousands of people. Lin Jun, even if you come out, I won't give you the chance to take revenge. I'll send you to hell again. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Yi Hua and Tianzi's return to the Empire meant that the Empire's war in the chaotic Star River was over. Even if the first place Lin Jun was still in the chaotic Star River, it wouldn't be of any use. People didn't even believe that Lin Jun would be able to return to the Empire. The war with the insectoids was over, but what made them happy was that Yi Hua had returned. Their hero was still here, safe and sound from the chaotic Star River. After returning, Yi Hua and Tianzi were treated like heroes. His Majesty the Emperor received them, and everyone cheered. Qilin's sacred stars, 1,000 miles red brocade, welcomed them, and the people lined the streets to applaud. His Majesty the Emperor also announced their reward, but it wasn't like Yi Hua had expected, which was to give them the first place reward. Originally, under the mediation of Yi Hua's father, the Mechanical Realm King, Emperor Tian Haoyu had already agreed to give Yi Hua the first place. However, Feng Qingwan's master, the Chaos Realm King, stood up. He only said, the first place is still alive, and you gave away the first place reward. Isn't this chilling the hearts of the people? The Chaos Realm King was a well-known figure among the Fire Qilin Realm Kings. Even the Emperor had to give him some face, not to mention his direct disciple, Feng Qingwan. In this battle, she took the real first place, and then fell in the chaotic Star River, which made people respect him even more. Because of this, the first place didn't fall on Yi Hua's head in the end. Instead, he waited for Lin Jun's news before making a decision. As long as Lin Jun didn't die, the first place would always be his. Yi Hua also didn't say anything. After returning, he immediately followed his father, the Mechanical Realm King, and worked even harder than before. He had always been worried about Lin Jun, and this became the motivation for his cultivation, and his progress was even faster. For this reason, the Mechanical Realm King once said that Yi Hua might be able to advance to the Star Domain stage soon, and become the youngest Domain King of the Fire Qilin Empire. On the contrary, Tianzi was much more carefree after returning. He ate, drank, and played every day. He only had time to pay attention to Lin Jun's news and secretly looked up information about Lin Jun's hometown. Prevention is better than cure. If he could control Lin Jun's family, he wouldn't have to worry about Lin Jun coming back to take revenge on him. This was his Tianzi's strategy. On the Qilin Sacred Star, a Star Shift Master shop opened. No guests came to congratulate, and the shop didn't have much fame, so it opened with a sign. The boss looked ordinary, wearing a poor-quality spiritual defense mask. He didn't say many words every day. There was also a worker he hired in the shop, who was only at the early stage of the Star Realm. There was a sign above the shop called the Heavenly Fire Star Shift Shop. It could make all kinds of weapons and equipment. However, it couldn't make divine tools for the time being. It could only make astral tools and sacred tools. For a high-leveled universe country, the best weapons were still divine tools. Although there was a market for divine tools and sacred tools, they weren't in the eyes of high-leveled warriors. Therefore, the shop had been open for business for a long time, but the business was pretty good. Many low-leveled warriors entered the shop to make things, and they found that the quality of the items made by the boss was very good, and the price wasn't very high. It was worth it. Gradually, the Heavenly Firestar Shift Shop gained a bit of fame among the low-leveled warriors. The business was getting better and better, and the money was getting more and more. Some people secretly calculated the boss's income, and they were surprised to find that the boss could earn at least a few 100,000 or even a few 100 shilling coins every day. In the situation where he couldn't make divine tools, this was already a very high income. Moreover, the boss said that when his skills matured, he could start making divine tools. At that time, he would have to collect cosmos crystals. The boss was very sensible and kept a low profile. The protection fee that should be paid would not be a single cent less. This area was under the jurisdiction of the Green Phoenix Association. Although Feng Qingluan was no longer here, the Chaos World King had single-handedly taken over her disciples' foundation. Instead, no one dared to look down on the Green Phoenix Association. Therefore, under the protection of the Blue Phoenix Association, the Heavenly Fire Shop's business was getting better and better. It was estimated that the day of making divine tools was not far away. With the boss's skills and character, once he made divine tools, it was foreseeable that he would make a lot of money. However, people didn't understand where the boss got all the things to practice. It wasn't easy to be a star shift master. Without a huge amount of equipment and money as backing, it wasn't easy to practice. Some busybodies were thinking about the boss's wealth, and even took the initiative to introduce women to him. However, the boss seemed to be otherworldly and didn't care about any women. Many people were unconvinced because of this. Later, they found all kinds of top-quality women. They didn't believe that the boss wouldn't take the bait. However, the boss really didn't put these women in his eyes. No matter what kind of women you found, he was only polite and courteous. However, he was extremely distant. From his eyes, it could be seen that these women didn't enter his eyes. To put it simply, he didn't care about them. Later, people gradually gave up. They once suspected that the boss might be lacking in some aspects. There was no lack of outstanding beauties among the women they found. How could he be so indifferent? Only the shop assistant in his shop occasionally heard some clues from a poem that the boss recited. The boss said this: "After crossing the sea, it's no longer water. Apart from Mount Wu, it's no longer clouds. After picking the flowers, it's too lazy to look back." The shop assistant had also heard of poems, but he had never heard of this one. It might have come from the boss's hometown. After all, the empire was so big. Every planet and every civilization gave birth to a different culture. From the meaning of the poem, the shop assistant concluded that the boss must have had an unforgettable love. Moreover, his lover must be very beautiful and outstanding. That was why he could ignore all the beauties in the world. The boss's state of mind should be the kind of attitude that disdains everyone except for his ex-lover. In the shop assistant's opinion, the boss was definitely an extremely outstanding man. Although he couldn't see through the boss's realm, he knew that the boss was very strong. Occasionally, he could see the boss's handsome face under the mask. This was a man with a story. He was an extraordinary man. He just didn't know why he was willing to be ordinary and stay here to practice Star Shift. Could it be that the boss was short of money? He just didn't know if the boss's former lover could compare to the beautiful mafia boss that he had occasionally caught a glimpse of on the street. She was riding a horse and wearing fresh clothes. She was so beautiful that she could turn the world upside down. She probably couldn't compare. That woman was already the limit of women. If she could remove her iceberg-like temperament, he believed that no man in the world could resist her. Chapter 531. The wind on Sky Island was like a cold wind from hell. As soon as Linjin arrived, he was immediately blown away. His body flew uncontrollably into the sky, heading straight for the spatial storm at the top of the sky. Teleport. Lin Jun instantly returned to the ground, activating Immovable Mountain. Lin Jun's feet were rooted to the ground as if they were rooted to the ground. Relying on his great strength, he forcibly blocked the astral winds of Levitating Island. Heavens! This wind is too strong. If it were on Earth, it would be enough to wipe out the entire planet. It's definitely above level 25. After resting on the ground for a while, Lin Jun finally got used to the wind on Sky Island. The power of the spatial storm was also stirred up in the wind. All kinds of elemental energy flowed freely. Although it was not as strong as a real spatial storm, the average person would definitely not be able to withstand it. Lin Jun's advantage of learning all the elemental energy was now reflected. He was basically immune to the energy storms on Sky Island. These energies were not enough to hurt him. It was also because of this that Lin Jun could continue to live on Sky Island and not die here. However, he could only live on Sky Island. He did not dare to enter the surrounding asteroid belt. That was the real hell. He definitely could not approach it. Looking up, he looked at the 3 steels in the center of the island. In the storm, the 3 steels seemed to have been there since ancient times. No matter how the wind blew, they did not move at all. I'm back. The insectoids chased me all the way here, but I still managed to escape. They definitely won't let me go. I guess I can't go out now. No one can come in here, so I can cultivate leisurely. Lin Jun still had a lot of cold stones in his spatial ring. He packed them up and trudged toward the steels, braving the storm. After walking for a while, Lin Jun felt hungry. He had to stop and set up a temporary tent with baleful light. He then ate something to recover his strength. After several hours of walking and stopping, Lin Jun finally arrived at the steels. I've already comprehended the boundary heavenly steel. There are still 2 more heavenly steels. One is the illusion heavenly steel, and the other is the still heavenly steel. The illusion heavenly steel is a mental energy heavenly steel. Qing Wan once cultivated to the emerald ray level of mental energy in this heavenly steel. I must comprehend it as well. The still heavenly steel is a heavenly steel of the laws of time. It is the most difficult one to comprehend among the 3 heavenly steels. When one reaches the highest level of comprehension, one can stop time within a space-time. Since I am here, I must learn it. Looking left and right, Lin Jun decided to learn the illusion heavenly steel first. At the very least, he could guarantee that he wouldn't come back empty-handed. As long as he could raise his mental power to Emerald Ray's level, his trip back to Levitating Island would be worth it. When he reached the first row of stone pillars, Lin Jun couldn't even jump up. He could only hug the stone pillar with both hands and crawl up from the ground like a giant lizard. When he reached the top of the stone pillar, the wind here was even fiercer. Lin Jun activated the heart of Mountain Immovable Mountain. His body was like an extra large weight, firmly fixed on the stone pillar. When the wind blew, it made his skin hurt. Thanks to my black hole beast, my body is extremely tough. If it was an ordinary stellar stage cultivator, their skin would be torn apart by this wind. Lin Jun absorbed a piece of cold stone, and his eyes suddenly lit up. On the mental energy heavenly steel, words appeared. Humans have essence, chi, and spirit. Mental energy is the concentrated embodiment of a martial artist's essence, chi, and will. It is the second combat power of a martial artist, and also the most unpredictable combat method. Mental energy, control. Words appeared one after another. Lin Jun continued to absorb the cold stone, and his reading speed was very fast. In terms of understanding of mental energy, Lin Jun was definitely outstanding. Before Feng Qingwan advanced to Emerald Ray, Lin Jun hadn't met anyone who could surpass him in terms of mental energy. At most, they were on par with him. However, the explanation of mental energy here was more thorough. Lin Jun immediately understood a lot of things that he didn't understand. This first row is not difficult for me at all. I can cross it. 10 minutes later, Lin Jun had finished comprehending the first row. In fact, most of it was something that he knew. He directly came down from the stone pillar, and then climbed up the second row like a monkey. The second row was also very easy. In fact, the first 5 rows were not difficult for Lin Jun. In a total of 10 days, Lin Jun had already reached the 6th row. Only at this time could he really comprehend it. There were a total of 2 aspects to comprehend in the mental energy divine steel. One was the mental control method, and the other was the mental all. The mental all was the upgraded version of the mental energy attack. It condensed mental energy into a beam and could easily break the opponent's spiritual sea. For those whose spiritual sea was already solid, such as the insect race, it could also be broken through by the mental all. As for the mental control method, it was to control objects as if they had a life of their own. For example, the flying knife. Lin Jun's 7-star blade wasn't very powerful because it didn't have the ability to control objects. It could only be used in a simple way. In a real battle, when facing a strong opponent, it wasn't very useful. This was also the method that Lin Jun had always wanted to learn. Now that he saw it here, of course, he was overjoyed. After having a goal, Lin Jun focused on comprehending, completely ignoring everything in the outside world. Now, his original body was cultivating hard on the floating island, and his avatar had opened the Heavenly Fire Star mobile shop on the Qilin sacred planet. With the large amount of materials that he had obtained previously, it was enough for his avatar to cultivate to the point where it could create divine weapons. As long as he could create divine weapons on a large scale, Lin Jun would be able to quickly earn universe crystals and stride toward becoming a 5-star supreme user. Although this process might be very long, Lin Jun was completely confident that he could persevere. He didn't know how much time had passed as he cultivated. In the blink of an eye, 10 months had passed. Lin Jun had already reached the 10th row of the mental energy divine steel. As long as he could reach the 10th row, Lin Jun would be able to completely learn the mental control method and the mental all. But just as he reached the 10th row, a pressure came from his spiritual sea. Just like a boiled egg peeling off its shell, the originally sky-blue mass of air began to have a slight crack, revealing a bit of verdant green. The specks of starlight dazzled Lin Jun's eyes. After such a long period of cultivation and comprehension, his mental energy finally made a breakthrough and advanced to Emerald Ray. A powerful vitality pervaded his spiritual sea, and his 5 senses were once again greatly improved. Through the storm in the sky, Lin Jun seemed to be able to see things thousands of miles away. No wonder on the Phoenix Perch star, Qingwan could discover the location of the enemy first. That was because her mental energy was stronger than Lin Jun's. And Lin Jun's breakthrough this time was different from Feng Qingwan's. When Feng Qingwan ascended the mental energy divine steel, her mental energy had not yet reached the perfect level of sky blue, and Lin Jun's mental energy was stronger than hers. After a bit of Emerald Ray appeared, Lin Jun's spiritual sea was like a piece of jade containing starlight, and after the breakthrough, it rapidly increased to 20% Emerald Ray. His accumulation was too thick, and he could have broken through long ago when he was comprehending, but he had been suppressing and controlling it. It wasn't until he reached the 10th row that he finally broke through under the mental resonance of the illusory divine steel. Too beautiful. This is simply breaking through the cocoon and becoming a butterfly. This is the true mental energy. Strands of jade green color flowed, beautiful and powerful. It had to be said that Lin Jun's mental energy was too strong. His current mental energy level was almost impossible to appear in the nebulous stage. Even for a domain monarch, it was not easy to possess such mental strength. Previously, Lin Jun had been troubled. When fighting with the Zerg, a race whose mental energy was solidified, his mental energy was basically in a state of being useless and could not have any effect on the other party. In a battle between experts, life and death could be decided in a thousandth of a second. If he could use his mental energy, Lin Jun would not be afraid of the Zerg experts, even if his star power was still insufficient. And now, 20% of the Emerald Ray's power would become the sharpest knife in Lin Jun's hands, enough to cut open the spiritual sea of any opponent. Lin Jun was excited for a moment, but he quickly calmed down. With his current strength, there were very few things that could cause waves in his heart. After the increase in mental energy, Lin Jun's comprehension speed doubled. There were some things that he could not figure out previously, but now he understood and understood everything. First, he learned the mental energy object control technique, and his progress was very fast. In the simulation field, Lin Jun was already very good at using the seven-star blade. Lin Jun almost did not need to use his full strength when facing opponents below the mid-stage of the nebulous stage. He could easily kill them with just the power of the seven-star blade. Each flying knife seemed to be controlled by a person alone, and it was impossible to guard against all kinds of knife techniques. Without extremely strong mental energy, it was impossible to do this. This was Lin Jun's huge gain. Of course, the money in the card was also rapidly depleting. On the Qilin's sacred planet, the speed at which the doppelganger earned money could not match the speed at which Lin Jun spent money. All of this was worth it. Lin Jun never stopped cultivating in the simulation field. 10 days after the advancement of his mental energy in the simulation field, opposite him, a level 6 nebula expert was struggling desperately in the net of knives woven by Lin Jun's seven-star blade. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Flying knives of 7 elemental energies crisscrossed like thunder and lightning. No matter how the level 6 nebula expert struggled and dodged, the knife lights were like maggots in a tarsal bone. They were clearly divided, intercepting, chasing, sneaking attacks, and attacking. It was impossible to guard against. Poof, poof, poof. The level 6 nebula expert could not resist and was immediately shot by 3 flying knives into his brain, heart, and dantian. Within a second, the seven-star blade slashed wildly, directly cutting this mid-stage nebula expert into pieces. Chapter 532. Lin Jun exited the simulated reality field with satisfaction. This time, he had finally succeeded with the mind control technique. The Emerald Ray level of mind power had become his greatest trump card. Although the space station was powerful, it consumed too much energy and was not as practical as mind power. However, Lin Jun did not stop at all. He still had to continue cultivating the mind all. Compared to the mind control technique, the mind all was less difficult for Lin Jun. He just had to master the method, concentrate his mind power into a beam, and send it out with all his might. However, Lin Jun's cultivation was not that simple. He had to combine the mind, evil spirit shock, and the mind all perfectly. Both were the evolved version of the mind attack, and the two could be combined. If the mind evil spirit shock could also attack the opponent's mind at the same time as the mind all was sent out, then this move would be terrifying. This process took Lin Jun a whole month. After 11.5 months on the floating island, Lin Jun finally finished comprehending the entire mind-powered divine monument. The final combination of the mind all and the mind evil spirit shock formed a unique combat technique in the universe that belonged only to Lin Jun. The mind evil spirit all. Lin Jun had also tested the effect of this attack. It was so useful that he was looking forward to seeing the effect of this move in actual combat. At this point, he had finished comprehending the mind-powered divine monument. Sliding down from the pillar, Lin Jun gave himself a day to rest and organize what he had gained during this time. Another year passed, and Lin Jun's star power had also increased from 1,280 to 1,350. With this amount of star power, Lin Jun could easily crush early-stage nebula opponents. Although his star power was not as good as his mid-stage nebula opponents, Lin Jun had many unique skills that were enough to support him in challenging opponents of a higher level. Recently, Lin Jun also felt that his star power seemed to be showing signs of a breakthrough. After a year of stable accumulation, he was already on the verge of breaking through to the black hole stage. However, Lin Jun still didn't dare to act rashly. The black hole stage was the most important watershed. Once he entered, there was no telling what might happen. Without being fully prepared, Lin Jun didn't want to take the risk. Next, he still had one more thing to do, and that was to comprehend the Silence Heavenly Steel. The Time Sky Steel was the most difficult and also the most crucial. If he could make a breakthrough here, it would be very beneficial for Lin Jun's future. Looking at the endless asteroid belt, Lin Jun could vaguely sense the overwhelming force of the insectoids outside. You guys wait patiently. Don't lose your patience. After I finish comprehending the steel, we'll have a good chat. Also, Yi Hua and Tianzi, after a day of rest, Lin Jun ascended the quiet character Heavenly Steel once more. This time, he wanted to challenge the laws of time. At the south gate of the Chilan sacred planet, inside the Heavenly Fire Star shifting shop, Lin Jun's clone was refining artifacts. This time, he was going to forge a long spear. After such a long time of forging, Lin Jun was already very proficient in forging sacred artifacts. However, he still hadn't forged a divine artifact. Now, it was no longer a problem of technique, but a problem of flame. Lin Jun's bright orange flame could only forge a top-grade sacred artifact at most, but it was not enough to forge a divine artifact. If he couldn't forge a divine artifact, Lin Jun's earning speed was too slow. It was almost impossible for him to upgrade his bank card. He opened his hands and faced each other at a close distance. Between the two palms, a bright orange flame was dancing. The intensity of my flame is still not enough. If I can upgrade it to white, forging a divine artifact will definitely not be difficult for me. After trying several times, the intensity of the flame couldn't be increased. Lin Jun was a little frustrated. Putting away the flame, he slowly closed his eyes. Lin Jun couldn't help but think of the scene of Feng Qingwan pouncing on the insectoid army. In the past, whenever he thought of this matter, Lin Jun would force himself to divert his attention so that he wouldn't be distracted by this matter. But today, Lin Jun's longing for Little Phoenix was getting stronger. Lin Jun, don't forget what you said. I like it here. Lin Jun, I like this tree. I'm the leader of the gang, but I've never done a real bad thing. Lin Jun, you have to believe me. Goodbye, my love. The words that Feng Qingwan said to Lin Jun before echoed in Lin Jun's mind like a movie clip. Lin Jun, look at me here. Don't you think it's familiar? In his memory, Feng Qingwan smiled like a flower, and there was a teardrop-shaped cinnabar mole between her fingers. When this picture appeared in his mind, Lin Jun suddenly opened his eyes. That's right. Qingwan left me the tears of blood. She said that she wanted me to see it in the future, but I always forgot about it. Maybe I instinctively don't want to see this thing, because I subconsciously don't want to see her cry. Thinking of this, Lin Jun raised his hand, and the ruby-like tears of Phoenix appeared in the space ring. Qingwan left this thing to me. I don't know what it means, but I believe that she won't do anything useless. Take a good look. As soon as he infused it with his mental power, a ball of incandescent flames surged toward him. This is the breath of Little Phoenix. It's her flame power. It's the burning sky flame. Lin Jun was surrounded by flames, and this kind of flame wouldn't hurt Lin Jun. It was just like the flame on both of them when he healed Little Phoenix. Because of the blood connection, this flame was like Lin Jun's own. Lin Jun didn't have time to think more, and immediately put all his strength into absorbing these flames as much as possible. His whole body was like a lamp, and the flame power flowed around his body, fluctuating with his breathing. And the bright orange flame in Lin Jun's body, under the influence of this white flame, began to gradually change. Lin Jun's bright orange flame and this bright white flame were divided into several grades. They were pale white, pure white, and incandescent. The two flame powers began to neutralize, and the color of the bright white flame gradually became pale, and Lin Jun's bright orange flame also began to turn white. After turning pale white, Lin Jun knew that his flame had leveled up. It had reached pale white flame, and he could already forge low-grade divine tools. And after the bright white flame completely disappeared, Lin Jun's flame leveled up again, reaching the pure white stage. With the pure white flame, Lin Jun could already forge middle-grade divine tools. Only when the flame power left behind by Little Phoenix completely disappeared did Lin Jun slowly open his eyes. It was impossible for Little Phoenix to know that Lin Jun wanted to refine tools, but she knew that Lin Jun could absorb her flame power. This was a gift she left for Lin Jun. This affection made Lin Jun's heart feel heavy. It was very happy and also very burdensome. making him even more eager to revive little Phoenix. There's still something inside? After the flame power in the Phoenix's tear was released, Lin Jun discovered that there was a ball of gold at the core. His heart stirred, and he immediately took out this ball of gold. This is the third chapter of the flash attack. It turned out that when this golden thing was opened, it was clearly a piece of golden paper. It was the last page of Yin Jun Realm King's flash attack technique. At this time, Lin Jun remembered that little Phoenix sent Feng Hong to buy the flash attack technique from him. At that time, she was rejected by him. It was also from then on that Lin Jun knew that the last page of the flash attack technique had fallen into Feng Qingluan's hands. And little Phoenix actually left this last page of golden paper to him. She didn't say anything and didn't let him pay any price. She just quietly left it to him. No wonder she said at that time that she left the Phoenix's tear for him. It turned out that there were so many mysteries inside. Lin Jun's avatar came out of the chaotic Star River and brought out most of the things that Lin Jun didn't need, including Yin Jun Realm King's Golden Book of Inheritance. Now, only this last piece of golden paper was left. After learning the flash attack, Lin Jun could use sublight speed in battle. Lin Jun was looking forward to this matter. He didn't expect to get it today. Lin Jun placed the golden paper on the last golden book of inheritance. Yin Jun Realm King's complete inheritance was finally obtained by Lin Jun. Little Phoenix, I thank you. Thank you very much. Wait for me. I will definitely let you live again. Lin Jun put away the golden paper first. He would immediately cultivate this thing when he had time. But right now, the most important thing was to forge the divine tool. After obtaining the pure white flame, Lin Jun's strength greatly increased. He immediately put the spear back into the star-shift furnace and then sprayed out a pure, white, heaven-burning flame. The impurities of the spear were easily removed, and an amazing change occurred. Buzz! After a light sound, the spear was out of the furnace. A cold air sprayed over, lowering the temperature of the spear. Then, Lin Jun grabbed the spear. On the spear, there were two entangled flames. That was Lin Jun's unique mark, representing the flame of the fire Qilin and the flame of the fire Phoenix. It's done. Middle-grade divine tool, weighing 4,000 kilograms, with excellent flexibility and sharpness. It's definitely the best among the middle-grade divine tools. If this spear is sold, it can be sold for at least 30 million cosmos crystals. Lin Jun's heart was filled with excitement. This spear had been forged, and it was comparable to his accumulation of nearly a year. He still needed to forge high-end weapons. This was also the first time that Lin Jun saw the hope of advancing to a 5-star Supreme card. Soon, the news spread out. Everyone came to know that the masked star shift master of the Heavenly Fire Store located at the southern gate of the Qilin Sacred Planet was able to forge divine tools. Moreover, he was able to forge low-grade and middle-grade divine tools. The charge was not expensive, and the quality was particularly good. Now that communication was particularly developed, everyone would know if something was announced in the dimensional universe. The reputation of the Heaven Fire Shop rose to another level, from the low-end market to the high-end market. And Lin Jun's wealth also increased in the process. There were constantly people looking for him to forge divine tools, and the materials were all brought by the customers. Lin Jun's craftsmanship also improved in the process. Chapter 533. Yihua, your recent hard work has made Father very pleased. Your progress is also very big. I think it won't be long before you can advance to the Domain King realm. The voice was like metal rubbing against each other, very harsh to the ear. Yihua looked up at his father, the Mechanical Realm King. The Mechanical Realm King only had one son, Yihua. Around 80 years ago, the Mechanical Realm King abandoned his original body in order to pursue the limits of his combat strength and changed it into a mechanical body. At the beginning, he only changed it to a top-grade divine artifact metal fist. Later, he found that the metal fist was very useful, so he changed it to a top-grade divine artifact for both hands. Later, he felt that the lethality of his feet was insufficient, so he changed his feet to a metal divine artifact. Later, he felt that the defense of his torso was insufficient, so he began a major body replacement. His bones, tendons, skin, and internal organs were all changed to the best materials. In the end, his teeth, skull, and so on were all replaced by him. Only his brain, spiritual sea, and dantian still belonged to him. The rest of his body no longer belonged to him. For this reason, he even lost the ability to reproduce, so he only had Yi Hua as his son. But it was also because of his super strong physique that his strength surpassed most world kings, and he became a powerhouse among world kings. His entire body was almost a metal mechanical body, although he looked like a human on the outside. In fact, he was a robot with only a brain and consciousness. Although he became a powerhouse among world kings, he later discovered the problem. Although a strong body gave him a stronger combat strength, it also meant that he lost the possibility of continuing to advance. Therefore, the Mechanical Realm King poured all his energy into Yi Hua, so that Yi Hua could receive the best training and the most resources from a young age. If a World King level master were to pour all of their strength into raising a single person, that was an extremely terrifying matter. If it were any other World King, they would never be able to accomplish this. This was because in the vast universe, every World King had a long life, many wives, and a massive family clan. They had so many sons that they couldn't even distinguish them. Only a few particularly outstanding ones were worthy of being remembered. The rest of their sons were in fact similar to ordinary children. As for grandchildren and great-grandchildren, it was already very amazing that they could remember their names. Once a family spread out, it was possible to have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. After all, they were just too old. Therefore, people like Yi Hua were definitely extremely lucky. Yi Hua respectfully looked at the Mechanical Realm King and said, "Father, it is only right for me to work hard. Otherwise, I will be letting down your painstaking efforts." The Mechanical Realm King laughed, and his voice was ear-piercing. "Ga, you don't have to fool your old man. I know that you were forced by your love rival and felt a sense of crisis. However, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. Under my care, you have not suffered any setbacks since you were young. Although you are smart, you lack experience. This is not good for your growth. Yes, Dad, that Lin Jun gives me a lot of pressure. I think this person is very dangerous. You don't know this, but he hasn't even reached the black hole tool yet, but his combat power is close to the mid-level of the Nebula Realm. Deep down, I'm a little afraid of him. I'm afraid that if he makes another breakthrough this time, he will definitely come back to me for revenge." The Mechanical Realm King nodded. "This Lin Jun you're talking about is really amazing. He must have some secret on him. Otherwise, it is impossible for a stellar stage to fight against a Nebula Realm, let alone a mid-level one. However, you don't have to belittle yourself too much. You are now only 80 years old, and you have already reached level 9 of the Nebula Realm. Under my training, you definitely have the possibility of advancing to the Domain King before you are 100 years old. This is also unprecedented in the entire history of the Fire Qilin. And this person, Lin Jun, can be considered the first real opponent in your life. You like Feng Qingluan, but lost to Lin Jun in this matter. This caused you to have a little heart demon. If you want to get rid of it, you have to defeat Lin Jun in the next battle. That way, you will definitely soar to the sky." Yi Hua also nodded. "Yes, Dad. I feel that whether I can advance to the Star Domain realm or not depends on Lin Jun. I have a strong desire to kill him, but I don't know if he can get past the Zerg. If you want to do it, then do it. If he can't get past the Zerg, then he is not qualified to be your opponent. Always remember that you have your father behind you. You are his only son. Even in the entire empire, there is no one your father does not dare to provoke. This is your advantage. You have to understand." Yi Hua nodded. His heart was also filled with strength. With a father like this, he did not need to fear anyone. It had been almost 4 years since he had entered the floating island. Lin Jun himself did not expect that comprehending the temporal laws would be so difficult. Especially when he entered the 9th row, Lin Jun felt that comprehending the temporal laws was even more difficult. Time acceleration, time deceleration, time stop, and time reversal. These were the 4 stages of the temporal laws. Previously, Lin Jun had seen that many people had passed the divine steel of temporal laws. At first, he thought that the difficulty was not particularly high. However, when he reached the 9th row, Lin Jun understood. Those who had passed it within a year definitely did not grasp the true meaning of time stop. If one wanted to grasp time stop, the first condition was to comprehend the true meaning of time deceleration by 100-fold. If one wanted to comprehend time deceleration by 100-fold, then they would have to comprehend time acceleration by 100-fold. If these 2 conditions were not met, then they could still enter the 10th row. However, time stop was not truly still. Instead, time was slowed down by 100-fold. When a second was extended to a minute, then a person's movements would be close to being still. It was like watching a movie in slow motion. If it was 8 times or 16 times, then it would be extremely slow. If it was 60 times, 70 times, or even 80 to 90 times, then it would be close to being still. Under these circumstances, agile people would be able to easily catch a bullet. The rest of the environment would naturally be close to being still. However, this was still time deceleration in the end, not true stillness. Once you did this, then you would never be able to comprehend time stop. In other words, you would never be able to reverse time in the future. It could be said that the successes of the predecessors were basically false successes. If one wanted to truly grasp time stop, then 1 or 2 years of comprehension would not be enough. Lin Jun entered the 9th row in 10 months, but 2 years later, he was still in the 9th row. He even forgot about night and day. All his body and mind were devoted to the comprehension of the law of time. Accelerating time by 100-fold was not an easy task. In order to achieve this goal, Lin Jun spent a year and a half. Moreover, this was under the condition that Lin Jun had the help of the time stone. Otherwise, it would have taken him 8 to 10 years to achieve this goal. After a full year and a half, Lin Jun finally achieved this goal. If one wanted to accelerate time deceleration, they would also need the support of star power. Star power was like a martial artist's engine. It was the source of all means. At present, Lin Jun's star power level could barely perform 100-fold acceleration in a small space. Of course, this was also a skill that consumed a lot of star power. If he wanted to perform 100-fold acceleration, he would need the support of 1,000 star power. He could not use it easily unless it was a critical moment. It took him another year and a half to comprehend the time deceleration. After a year and a half, he had completely comprehended the time deceleration. However, it did not mean that he could easily perform it. Compared to time deceleration, the consumption of star power for time deceleration was double. With Lin Jun's current strength, he could not even decelerate time by 100-fold. After a few years of hard work, his star power had increased again, reaching 1,500 star power. However, he could only decelerate time by 75 times at most. If he wanted to decelerate time by 100-fold, he would need to consume 2,000 star power at a time. In ordinary battles, it was very useful to be able to decelerate time by 20 or 30 times. After comprehending the true meaning of 100-fold acceleration and 100-fold deceleration, Lin Jun's understanding of time stop finally reached a perfect achievement. Understand. Lin Jun closed his eyes slightly. The so-called time stop is to suddenly decelerate time by 100-fold after accelerating time by 100-fold. It is 101 times. When the 2 laws are performed one after another, a temporary force field will be formed within the range of your star power. To be more specific, within the range of your star power, a force field will be formed for a short period of time. Since the effect of deceleration is double that of acceleration, the flow of time will be stopped, forming a time stop area. Within this area, time stop is time stop. It turns out that mastering 100-fold deceleration is not enough. I still have to master it to 101 times. Lin Jun revealed a gratified smile. He finally understood. Now he had 2 things to do. One was to continue comprehending and comprehend the true meaning of time deceleration by 101 times. The other was to make his star power barely enough for time stop. To perform time stop, One had to first accelerate and then decelerate time. It would consume star power twice in a row. A martial artist's star power level had to be at least 3,000 star power. Moreover, 3,000 star power was only enough. After performing time stop, one would not have the ability to perform other killer moves. Therefore, one would need at least 3,000 star power to make this move powerful. Lin Jun's current star power level was 1,500 star power. He wanted to double this star power level. After leaving the 9th row of stone pillars, Lin Jun climbed up to the last stone pillar. He wanted to comprehend time acceleration by 101 times here. At the same time, he wanted to see if he could make another breakthrough and improve his star power to the next level. He was already at the peak of the level 9 stellar realm. There was almost no room for improvement. The Dark Star realm was still in the middle stage of the Mesozoic era. Even if he reached the late stage, it would be impossible for him to have 3,000 star power. The only way was to try to break through to the black hole stage. The black hole stage was a huge leap. Only then could Lin Jun's star power increase substantially. Previously, Lin Jun had not dared to try to break through because he felt that he was not strong enough. Chapter 534. The black hole stage was a tribulation for warriors. During this tribulation, a warrior's strength would increase rapidly. After passing this tribulation, one might not be able to achieve eternity, but compared to eternity, the difference was like heaven and earth. In a vast universe, there were as many warriors in the black hole stage as there were grains of sand in the Ganges River. However, there were far fewer nebula stage warriors. Lin Jun believed that he was invincible in the nebula stage. It would not be difficult for him to pass through the black hole stage normally. However, because his soul had come back from a black hole, he did not dare to take this step. However, he had been delayed on Sky Island for 4 years. Lin Jun was worried that he would not be able to resurrect Little Phoenix if he was delayed for too long. Therefore, he did not dare to delay any longer. 3 months after entering the 10th row of stone pillars, he comprehended the 101x time deceleration and was ready to attempt a breakthrough. In fact, Lin Jun had been suppressing his desire for a breakthrough for the past few years. His astral power had long reached the critical point of a breakthrough. He had compressed it again and again, and controlled it again and again until it was no longer possible to compress it. Phew, let's begin. Commander, we are ready. Outside of Levitating Island, the insectoid army was ready. They were about to carry out an unprecedented operation. After 4 years, Commander Mantis had had enough. He did not want to stay in this damn place for another day, an hour, or even a minute. However, before he left, he had to do one thing, and that was to kill Lin Jun. He had been preparing for this for 4 years. In fact, when Lin Jun had entered Sky Island, he had already planned to do this and had begun to put it into action. He had gathered the 4 Zerg mother nests near Sky Island. This was the first step of the operation. The mother nests of the Zerg absorbed the free energy of the universe and then bred a large number of Zerg warriors. In the past 4 years, because no one had threatened the existence of the Zerg, countless Zerg warriors had been gathered around Sky Island. Mantis's plan was grand. He wanted to break through the meteorite belt around Sky Island. Floating Island's meteorite belt and spatial storm were 100,000 kilometers wide. Mantis's plan was to use the human wave tactic, using the lives of countless ordinary warriors to open a path and break through the periphery of Floating Island. Every insectoid warrior unleashed their astral power to the maximum, using their lives as a wall to stop the asteroid belt from moving. When the insectoid warriors crashed into the asteroid belt around the island, they would slow down. Theoretically speaking, if there were an infinite number of insectoid warriors, they could completely stop the asteroid belt. 100,000 kilometers long asteroid belt. Who knew how many sacrifices they would have to make just by relying on their flesh and blood? It was impossible for any other race to accomplish this, but only the insectoids could. Besides, Mantis's plan wasn't particularly difficult. He didn't need the asteroid belt to completely stop. All he needed to do was build a wall with his flesh and blood to slow down the asteroid belt and weaken the spatial storm. Then, his team would be able to enter the floating island. The insectoid warriors below the black hole stage were tools. They were tools that could be manipulated by the advanced insectoids at will. They would live or die as they wished, and they would not disobey in any way. Mantis had been hoarding countless warriors here for the past 4 years, waiting for this day. Are you sure we have enough warriors? Commander, of course. We've been focusing on accumulating warriors for the past 4 years. Low-level warriors can be bred without spending much energy. The 4 mother nests can easily breed hundreds of thousands of warriors every day. Over the past 4 years, we have more than 1 billion warriors. The cannon fodder bred by the mother nests were mostly low-level warriors. They were at the comet stage and the satellite stage. Many of them were even ordinary star stage insectoids. Mantis didn't need too many experts at the moment. These weak warriors were enough to block the asteroid belt. Good. Get ready to move out now. The beetle commander was about to carry out the mission when Mantis suddenly stopped him. Wait a minute. Is there anything else? Don't do it so easily. Didn't Lin Jun get first place in the last kill list? He killed hundreds of thousands of our warriors above the star stage. I heard that many people in the Fire Qilin Empire see Lin Jun as a hero. Even today, the reward for first place on the kill list is still reserved for him. He's the idol of countless youths. That seems to be the case. Even today, many people from the Fire Qilin Empire say that they want to come to the Chaotic Star River to find Lin Jun and rescue him. If it weren't for the fact that we've heavily surrounded the floating island, they wouldn't have been able to come. Hee, that's perfect. Since they think that Lin Jun is a hero, we'll show them what the end of a hero is. We'll broadcast the video of our operation in the dimensional universe. Let them see with their own eyes how their hero is tortured and killed by us. The beetle's eyes lit up when he heard Mantis's suggestion. That's a good idea. But Commander, we're all from the Zerg Empire. Even if we broadcast the video in the dimensional universe, only the Zerg Empire's people will watch it. We don't have any accounts in the Fire Qilin Empire. We don't have that identity. That's not a problem. We don't have it, but someone else does. I'll find someone to post it on our behalf soon. Lin Jun, don't think you're safe just because you're hiding in the floating island like a coward. Today, I'll let the people of your empire witness your end. Something big happened on the Fire Qilin Empire's online forum. Tianxi, who is also from the Sanjiang Federation like Lin Jun, posted a super shocking video on the internet. The content of the video came from the floating island in the core area of the Chaotic Star River. The title of the video was The End of a Genius, Encirclement of the Zerg. In the video, there were so many Zerg fighters that it was impossible to count them all. They were so densely packed that people with trypophobia would vomit on the spot. These Zerg fighters seemed to have lost their minds. They were madly charging at the meteorite belt around the floating island. Around the floating island, the meteorite belt, which was 100,000 kilometers wide, was moving rapidly. Space storms ran rampant in it, making it almost impossible to pass through. The Zerg fighters rushed over, unleashed all their astral power, and directly hit the meteorite. Their strength was insignificant compared to the high-speed meteorite, but they could slow down the speed of the meteorite a little. Slowing it down a little was enough. The second Zerg fighter immediately rushed up and slowed the meteorite down a little more. Then the third, the fourth, the 100th, and the 10,000th. All the Zerg fighters rushed forward without any regard for their own safety. They cooperated with each other very well. The timing of their advance and the timing of their attacks were almost exactly the same. This was the terrifying execution of the Zerg. Countless Zerg fighters unleashed their astral power, completely disregarding their own lives. They forcibly stopped the meteorites from moving. Countless meteorites piled up, and the meteorites behind them crashed into the city wall with a rumble, making the city wall even more solid. Gradually, a prototype of a passage leading to the depths of the floating island appeared. Oh my God, are these Zergs crazy? What are they doing? Suicide? But this kind of suicide seems meaningless. Even if they forcibly stop the meteorite belt, what's the point? What are you thinking? Did you notice the title of the video? This is the floating island, where the Zerg besieged Lin Jun. Lin Jun is on the floating island. They want to stop the meteorite belt, then rush into the floating island to kill Lin Jun. No, this can't be true. These Zergs are actually willing to pay such a huge price to kill Lin Jun. Is it worth it? You don't understand at all. The low-level Zerg fighters are worthless. They can have as many as they want. The real valuable ones are the high-level Zerg fighters. They're using the lives of countless low-level Zerg fighters as a foundation to forcibly open this passage. But who is Lin Jun? He's a genius of our empire, ranked first on the kill list. No. How can our empire stand by and do nothing? No matter what, we have to save Lin Jun. If we abandon our hero and ignore him when he's in trouble, what hope does our empire have? In a place like the chaotic Star River, at most, they'll enter the nebulous stage. It's almost impossible to save Lin Jun. Don't be naive. For a time, there were different opinions in the Fire Qilin Empire. Some who thought they were rational pointed out the many disadvantages of saving Lin Jun, but they were drowned out by the saliva of the majority. Most people still believe that no matter the price, they had to save Lin Jun. The heat of this matter quickly swept across the entire empire. The meteorite belt in the chaotic Star River was 100,000 kilometers long. Even if the Zergs wanted to open it, they wouldn't succeed in a day or two. There might still be time. This matter alarmed the imperial family of the Fire Qilin Empire. For this reason, Tian Haoyu even made a speech, saying that they couldn't abandon their national hero to suffer alone. They would send a special operation team to the chaotic Star River to save him. The special operation team had a total of 50 people, all of whom were nebula stage experts from the Empire's military. Their mission was to save Lin Jun from the Sea of Zergs at all costs. At the very least, they had to stop the Zergs' crazy plan and give Lin Jun a chance to live. The leader of the team even had a mission. If worse came to worst, the Empire would pay a price in exchange for Lin Jun's safe return home. Of course, this matter couldn't be told to the public. The public only knew that the team to save Lin Jun had already set out and would reach the floating island in the chaotic Star River in half a month. Tianxi, who helped the Zergs broadcast the situation, was also scolded by the entire nation. They didn't know why this person would help the Zergs. However, no one knew Tianxi's specific location, so they couldn't do anything to him. Moreover, the people really needed Tianxi to release the situation of the video so that they could know Lin Jun's information in a timely manner. Chapter 535. Above the 10th row of stone pillars, gusts of violent astral winds howled, bringing with them countless elemental energies as they swept through everything in a frenzy. Lin Jun, the only life form on the floating island, sat cross-legged on the top of the stone pillar. The lightning wings behind him flapped gently, and the power of electricity on them shone like stars in the night sky. After 4 years of cultivation, the lightning wings had reached 3,000 times the speed of sound. Its speed was 10,000 kilometers per second. His planetary teleportation had reached 150,000 kilometers. This meant that if Lin Jun stood on Earth, he could appear on the moon with just a thought. Huff! Lin Jun took a deep breath, and the air around him was instantly sucked into his stomach. His lung capacity was definitely unimaginable for humans. This breath was enough to last him a month. After exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, the air arrow did not dissipate in the wind. It directly hit a meteorite on the ground that was blown by the wind and shattered it. After exhaling the air arrow, Lin Jun's dantian swelled. The astral power that he had suppressed and controlled for a long time started to explode violently. SSS. Under the dazzling astral power, huge waves ran rampant in his dantian and surged into space. Within his dantian, Lin Jun's bright star started to undergo huge changes. The star burned rapidly, and all the light and heat started to dissipate. The huge energy ball was released in a few minutes. Large black spots started to appear on the bright white star. The entire star looked extremely ugly, like an old man whose life was about to come to an end. This was a white dwarf star, a star in its later years. A drop of water seemed to have flown in from another dimension and landed on the white dwarf star. There should not be water on a star with such high temperature. However, the appearance of this drop of water changed everything. From the point it landed, a huge crack appeared on the star. Kacha, kacha, kacha! The ground started to crack, and the entire star was like a broken glass ball. It was covered with dense patterns. Countless rays of light burst out from the cracks, and the huge explosion caused the entire Danteon to tremble. Rumble! The supernova exploded. Turbulent airflow filled Lin Zhen's Danteon. His stellar energy swelled, causing the surrounding void to expand once again. This was the foundation for him to advance to the star system level in the future. This void would one day become a river of stars. However, shattering was not the end. The star evolved into a white dwarf, and when the white dwarf shattered, everything outside the star split and became nothingness, finally becoming a point. Naked singularity. That was like a drop of water that broke the surface of the planet. Lin Zhen could clearly see this distort between reality and illusion a few times before it suddenly exploded. All the fragments and dust of the planet were absorbed by this point. Everything in his Danteon was howling madly as it spun. Time and space intertwined in a bizarre and variegated manner. The vortex grew bigger and bigger until it finally formed a black hole that devoured everything. It was as if some kind of barrier that had been blocking Lin Zhen had been broken. At this moment, everything suddenly became clear. He had broken through. It had been 12 years since his rebirth. Lin Zhen had finally made the most important breakthrough for a martial artist. He had entered the heavenly tribulation of a martial artist, the black hole stage. The barrier was broken, and his star power immediately soared like spilled champagne. Lin Zhen's star power index in his body skyrocketed. From 1,500, it soared to 2,000. 2,000 points of star power was already comparable to most mid-galaxy level martial artists. However, it did not stop there. It continued to soar. From 2,000 to 2,500, it was now comparable to an expert who had just entered the star system level. However, this was basically the end of it. A breakthrough in the black hole stage meant an increase of 1,000 star power. This was unimaginable for other martial artists. Lin Zhen's improvement was already very big. However, Lin Zhen was not very satisfied. He knew that 2,500 star power was still not enough for him. Chapter 536. Just as Lin Zhen was about to leave, his sharp senses suddenly caught a trace of abnormality. What's that sound? Lin Zhen listened carefully and vaguely heard some crashing sounds. The screeching of the Zerg came from about 1,000 kilometers away. After listening for a while, Lin Zhen was suddenly not in a hurry to leave. Chris, check the dimensional universe and see if there's anything that we haven't noticed. Chris quickly replied, Master, something important has happened. Tianxi is broadcasting a video. The insectoid warriors have used their flesh and blood to carve out a path, forcing their way through the floating island. They're getting close to us. Oh, let me see. Lin Zhen immediately logged into the Dimensional Universes forum. At first glance, it was similar to what he had guessed. Countless Zerg warriors had used their bodies to form a passage of flesh and blood. God knew how many of them had been sacrificed to open the passage to a position less than 1,000 kilometers away from him. These Zergs have really strong willpower. They can actually think of this kind of human wave tactic. No, it's the insect wave tactic. Is it really worth it for them to forcibly break through the floating island just to kill me? It seems that my life is really worth a lot. Lin Zhen couldn't help but pat his knee lightly. If I had known that I was worth so much, I would have tied myself up and sent myself to the Zerg race in exchange for tens of billions of cosmos crystals. That way, my doppelganger wouldn't have to work so hard. Lin Zhen's doppelganger was still opening the star-shifting store on the Kirin sacred planet. The income was considerable. In the past 4 years, it had accumulated about 20 billion cosmos worth of wealth. It was only half of the target of 40 billion cosmos worth of wealth. However, it was the peak of his income recently because his doppelganger had learned King Yin Jun's unique skill, Flash Attack. Flash Attack was as fast as lightning, and it could launch sublight speed attacks while attacking. If his doppelganger learned it, it meant that Lin Jun's main body had learned it. Therefore, Lin Jun's hidden strength was quite strong. Now, Lin Jun's doppelganger had a breakthrough as well. Now, Lin Jun's doppelganger had more than 4,000 stars. Although the doppelganger didn't have a mutated black hole like Lin Jun, the doppelganger's degree of armor transformation was very high under the stimulation of the black hole's power. When it transformed into armor, it almost looked like a galactic beast. If one looked carefully, they could even see Xiao Wan's appearance when it grew up. The doppelganger's natural devouring ability had also reached a terrifying level. Everything below the nebula level was within its natural devouring capabilities. Although it hadn't completely transformed into a Qilin, it was already halfway through. Therefore, the strength of the doppelganger wasn't too far behind the main body. At this time, Lin Jun was in extremely good mood. As a martial artist, you could live without anything, but you couldn't live without strength. A martial artist without strength was worthless. However, with the support of a huge amount of star power, Lin Jun, who had just learned Time Stop, Mental Evil Spirit All, Mental Force Object Control, Space Slash, and Flash Attack, was undoubtedly very strong. With strength came confidence. This was what it meant to be relaxed. Looking at the situation in the dimensional universe from here, Lin Jun felt like he was watching a show. Oh, the Empire actually sent a team to rescue me? They'll arrive in half a month? Let me look at the time. It's been 13 days since we set off. Does that mean that the rescue team will be here soon? However, in Tianxi's video, Lin Jun didn't see the rescue team at all. The Zerg team also didn't suffer any attacks. Oomph. The Zerg will be able to travel a few hundred kilometers in at most an hour. If I count on them to rescue me, I'm afraid that my bones will rot away. Lin Jun cleaned up. After staying here for 4 years, Lin Jun's appearance was extremely sloppy. His beard was unshaven, and his clothes were tattered. He looked like a savage. He changed into a new set of clothes and built a small house with a light fiend, which had been upgraded to a middle-grade divine artifact. Then, he condensed a cloud of water vapor and took a bath. After washing up and cleaning up, there was still half an hour left. Half an hour later, the Zerg would be able to travel through the meteorite belt. While waiting for the arrival of the Zerg in boredom, Chris suddenly prompted, "Master, someone in the dimensional universe is calling for you." It's the captain of the Fire Qilin Empire's Royal Guards, a level 9 Nebula martial artist, John. He calls himself the person who will save you. Oh, the person who will save me? Ha. He came just in time. Anyway, I don't have anything to do. I'll see how this Captain John will save me in this situation. If he can do it, I'll have to say I'm impressed. Soon, Chris connected, and the image appeared. Uncle John, you said that we came all the way from the ends of the earth to this chaotic star river to save some so-called national hero. Are we considered heroes? A young man leaned lazily on a chair, talking to a man in his early 30s. The man looked back at him. Zhang Yang, we're not heroes. We're just following orders to save a pitiful person who's about to die here. Oomph. I can't stand the way the people flatter him. If he's so capable, why is he still trapped here by the Zerg? Why do we have to save him? If you're so capable, come out yourself. We have to beg for help. John did not answer Zhang Yang. He only frowned slightly. The Zerg have replied. John's eyes suddenly lit up, and he immediately connected to the Zerg's communication channel. The one who was talking to him was the Locust Commander, introduced by Tianxi. The Locust Commander appeared on the screen and said arrogantly, "You're John, right? I know why you're here, but it's impossible to save Lin Jun. You've seen it yourself. We've sacrificed billions of soldiers, and we're about to break through the floating island. Now you're saying you want to take him away? That's bullsh asterisk T. Do you think billions of Zerg soldiers have been sacrificed for nothing? Not even the gods can do that." Hardadef immediately smiled. "Honorable Commander-in-Chief, we came with sincerity. You should know that our Emperor has ordered us to bring Lin Jun home, no matter what. As for your losses, we will do our best to compensate you. Please state your conditions. As long as I can make the decision, I will not bargain." The Locust commander rolled his eyes. Humph. Will you accept my terms? Very well. Prepare 1 trillion cosmos crystals. We want to compensate the dead soldiers. Anything less than that is off the table. Hardadef immediately took in a breath of cold air. Sir Commander, this is impossible. 1 trillion cosmos crystals is absolutely unacceptable. Not to mention 1 trillion, even 100 billion cosmos crystals would be difficult. Since you're so insincere, then there's no need to negotiate. The Locust commander immediately cut off the communication channel. Uncle John, didn't the Emperor authorize you to pay 500 billion? I want to negotiate with you. Maybe there's hope to bring Lin Jun back. After all, those Zergs are worthless in the Zerg Empire. They're asking for a sky-high price. Can we just sit on the ground and pay them back? John suddenly sneered. Zhang Yang, you're my nephew. I won't hide it from you. Bringing Lin Jun back is right. The Emperor's will must be carried out, but we can't ignore the King of Mechanical Realm. King of Mechanical Realm. He's Yi Hua's father. You mean? Zhang Yang immediately understood. That's right. The King of Mechanical Realm doesn't want Lin Jun to come back, so I don't want this negotiation to succeed. I can only give you 100 billion, but what we bring back will be a reckless and heroic Lin Jun. Then what should we do? Easy. The video with the Locust commander just now was for others to see. I've secretly transferred 100 billion cosmos crystals to him. As long as they let Lin Jun pass through, I'll have a way to make Lin Jun go back with righteous indignation and fight those Zergs to the death. By then, Lin Jun's death will have nothing to do with us. We've already promised the Zergs to let him out, but he's the one who can't bear it and went back to kill them. Huh, Uncle, I'm really impressed. You can even come up with such a plan. Learn slowly. You still have a lot of things to do. Oh, Lin Jun has accepted my request in the dimensional universe. I'll go into the dimensional universe and talk to him. We'll talk later. In the dimensional space, John saw Lin Jun in the room. He didn't look like a savage as he imagined. He could see that his clothes were new. This guy, knowing that we're here, he even changed his clothes. He really doesn't know what's good for him. John smiled. Lin Jun, it's nice to meet you. I'm the captain of the Royal Guards, John. I'm here to bring you home. You're free. Is that so? Thank you for your hard work, Captain John. Can I leave now? It's like this. For your safety, I've had a tough negotiation with the Zergs. It wasn't easy to get them to agree to let you leave through a passage. In a while, you'll have to follow their request and walk out with your head down. Their passage should reach you soon. It's that simple. Lin Jun asked. Maybe they'll have some unreasonable requests, such as beating you up a few times or something. But that's not important. What's important is that you'll come out alive. What's wrong with a little humiliation? A real man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. When you're successful in your cultivation one day, we'll take revenge. Lin Jun looked straight at John. He was talking to the other party in the dimensional universe, and then through the dimensional universe, it was broadcasted to the other party spaceship. In the dimensional universe, it was allowed to fight. Looking at the contempt and ridicule in John's eyes, Lin Jun suddenly sneered. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, and a wave of psychic energy suddenly blasted out and went straight to John's mind. At the same time, he asked, Then, Sir John, what price did you pay to save me? John only felt his vision go black. He didn't realize what was happening at all. He instinctively said, Save you, my ass. Give the Zerg some money to let you come out, and then you can walk through this passage. They'll torture you here and play with you until you can't take it anymore and take the initiative to attack. At that time, your death won't have anything to do with me. Lin Jun, you've offended Yi Hua. If the Mechanical Realm King wants you dead, you're dead. In the next second, John's consciousness came back to him. He saw Lin Jun nodding at him. Okay, I agree with your suggestion. John only felt a little dizzy, but he didn't realize what had happened. He thought Lin Jun had agreed, so he immediately nodded with satisfaction. That's good. We'll be there soon. Get ready to leave Sky Island through the Zerg's passage. No matter what they do to you, just endure it. Don't worry, we'll take you out safely. Chapter 537. Lin Jun's expression immediately turned cold as he left the dimensional universe. Yi Hua and his master really didn't give him any chance to live. They actually came up with such a method to deal with him. Not only would they be able to answer to the people, they would also leave him with the impression that he was reckless, didn't know what was good for him, and deserved to die. He could imagine that if he walked out, he would be humiliated by the insectoids. If he couldn't bear it, then it would be his problem, not Hardadef and the other rescuers' problem. The Empire has already paid a huge price for you, yet you still recklessly fought against the insectoids. You deserve to die. It's really a way to get the best of both worlds. Thank goodness I recorded what you said just now. Hardadef, you probably never dreamed that my mental strength was strong enough to destroy your consciousness for a short period of time. Hardadef's mental strength was at the middle stage of Sky Cyan. Compared to Lin Zhun's early stage of Jade Ray, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Just now, he had been temporarily controlled by Lin Zhun in the dimensional universe. The main reason was that he wasn't prepared. He didn't expect Lin Zhun to be so strong. He didn't even know that he had been tricked. After Lin Zhun controlled him, he immediately gave up. Hardadef's memory of this was missing. After saving the video, a new one immediately appeared in the dimensional universe. This time, it was posted by Hardadef. In the video, Hardadef said passionately, "Fellow citizens of the Fire Chilin Empire, I know that you are all worried about Lin Zhun's fate and are worried that he will be harmed by the insectoids. But don't worry, after our unremitting efforts, we have finally reached a temporary agreement with the insectoids. They have agreed to let Lin Zhun out." The comment section below the video was filled with cheers. In fact, everyone knew that it was unrealistic to try to forcefully rescue Lin Zhun from the insectoids' encirclement. After all, even the Domain King couldn't enter the chaotic Star River, and the experts of the Fire Chilin Empire wouldn't be of any use. Being able to reach an agreement with the insectoids and pay a price to rescue Lin Zhun was already very, very good. It was very worth it. After all, it was good enough that their hero could return home. The comments section was flooded with comments. Some praised the rescuers team, while others praised the Empire. On the contrary, there were fewer people congratulating Lin Zhun. After all, in their opinion, Lin Zhun was already safe. Hardadef looked at the comments for a while and revealed a satisfied smile. "Thank you everyone for your understanding and support. In order to rescue Lin Zhun, we have done many things and encountered many difficulties, but that is not important. What is important is that Lin Zhun is safe, and I believe that in a moment's time, with that, the camera turned to the vast starry sky outside. The surroundings were densely packed with insectoids, causing one's scalp to tingle and shudder at the sight of them. But this also proved that what Hardadef said was true. They could go deep into the insectoid territory without being attacked by the insectoids, which meant that they had reached an agreement. It seemed that Lin Zhun was really safe. People also saw the seemingly endless tunnel that led to the depths of the floating island. Insectoids lined up on both sides of the tunnel. They seemed to be showing off, but they did not look like they were going to attack. According to Hardadef, Lin Zhun would come out in a moment. Hardadef was still talking. The insectoids sacrificed billions of soldiers to kill Lin Zhun, and they are still angry. They might do something impolite to vent their anger. Everyone should be mentally prepared. The most important thing is that Lin Zhun can come back. Most people express their support. Under such circumstances, it was already a great fortune to come back alive. There was no need to talk about dignity. In the depths of the floating island, Lin Zhun tidied up his clothes and watched the insectoids open up the tunnel. The last meteorite was stopped by the bodies of 2 Zhou dynasty insectoids. The huge tunnel appeared like a space tunnel. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A large group of Mantis soldiers rushed out of the tunnel. Most of them were in the black hole stage, and a few were in the galactic stage. The Mantis race was the strongest fighting race among the insectoids, and this troop was obviously the most elite of the Mantis race. 10,000 elite Mantis soldiers rushed out, and then a person walked out from the middle. The new commander of the insectoids, the Locust Commander. The Locust Commander's strength had reached the peak of Galactic Level 3. Although he was not as strong as the previous commander, He was not bad. He walked up to Lin Jun and looked at Lin Jun from head to toe. Ga. Lin Jun, long time no see. Have we met before? Lin Jun stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the Locust Commander. Hee, you must not know that the commanders of the insectoids have a legacy. When I became the new Locust Commander, I inherited the memories of the previous Locust Commander. His memories told me about you, so you can treat me as the previous Locust Commander. Oh, so we are old friends. You can say that. Lin Jun, I have to say that you and Feng Qingwan have caused a lot of trouble for the insectoids. Out of the 7 commanders, only Lord Mantis escaped. This is a loss that the insectoids have never suffered in the Astral River. Do you know that you have caused a great loss to us? Lin Jun smiled. Since this is a war, let's not talk about losses. If you're afraid of losses, you might as well go home and take care of your children, or just admit defeat. Ouch! How dare you be so arrogant? Didn't John tell you? Remember, you're just a dog now, a dog that we insectoids can do whatever we want to you. John gave you a sum of money to buy your dog life, but before you leave, you must let us do whatever we want to you. As he spoke, the Locust Commander pointed at the tunnel behind him. This tunnel is the death tunnel that we sacrificed billions of our warriors to open. Lin Jun, if you can walk out of here alive, we'll let you go. Along the way, each of our warriors will launch a non-lethal attack at you. You can't fight back. You can only endure. If you survive, you'll be lucky. But if you die, you'll have to pay tribute to the souls of our Zerg warriors in heaven. Lin Jun looked at the tunnel of flesh and blood, then turned to the Locust Commander. Do I have any other choice? Other choice? Hee. Yes, you have. And that is to fight your way out of here alone. Lin Jun, I'm not laughing at you. But if you have the ability, your empire would not have mobilized so many people to save you. Don't think that you are so great just because you have reached the black hole stage. Back then, you were able to fight against us insectoids because you relied on the strength of that woman, Feng Qingwan. You're just a bystander. Who do you think you are? Bah. After the Locust Commander finished speaking, he suddenly turned around and shouted, Children, prepare your greeting gifts. Greet Lin Jun fiercely. Dig out his nose, ears, and eyes. Pull out his intestines. Eat him. Those at the back will drink a mouthful of his blood and eat a mouthful of his flesh. I want to see how he walks out of this tunnel of 100,000 kilometers. Roar. The insectoid warriors roared in unison, their voices shaking the heavens. Every one of them revealed their ferocious faces. If it had been someone timid, they would have been scared out of their wits. The dimensional universe is open. Get that Tianxi to broadcast it to me. I want the people of Fire Qilin to see the price of offending us insectoids. Ha ha ha. The dimensional universe started recording, waiting for Lin Jun to walk into the tunnel of flesh and blood. The Locust Commander was in the first line of the tunnel of flesh and blood. He bared his fangs and rubbed them back and forth, waiting for Lin Jun's arrival. The people in Fire Qilin could see this scene clearly. They saw that Lin Jun had already reached the front of the tunnel, and they were all secretly praying that Lin Jun could pass through successfully. Even if he had to suffer some torture, he must endure it. Lin Jun walked to the front of the tunnel with his hands behind his back. He stretched his wrists slightly. I was planning to fight my way out, but now it seems that walking out like this is not a bad idea. After that, Lin Jun stepped into the tunnel. Lin Jun, don't be so reckless. Feed me your first piece of meat first. The Locust Commander roared and immediately pounced on Lin Jun. His astral powers exploded, and his aura was shocking. Everyone watching the video was shocked. Lin Jun, you must hold on. A little impatience spoils great plans. Lin Jun, you can do it. Technology is advanced now. As long as your soul is still there, and your heart and brain are not eaten, you have a chance to live. The netizens left comments one after another, but what happened next made everyone's eyeballs almost pop out of their sockets. Lin Jun raised his hand and suddenly grabbed the neck of the Locust Commander that was pouncing on him. Creak, creak. Ugh. The Locust Commander's eyes rolled back. It kicked its limbs in the air, but it could not break free from Lin Jun's grip. Seeing this scene, The netizens were dumbfounded. Lin Jun is crazy. Lin Jun, don't let Heartedef and the others down. You may feel good killing one insectoid, but there are hundreds of millions of insectoids here. Can you kill them all? Let go. It's over, it's over. Don't be afraid of a godlike opponent, but a pig-like teammate. Heartedef and the others' efforts are all in vain. Don't save them. They can't be saved. Heartedef and the others should run. The insectoids are about to turn on us. Comments flooded the screen. Everyone thought that Lin Jun's actions were too irrational. Lin Jun, you're F***king crazy. Don't you want to go back in one piece? You let go of me. Relying on the insectoid's tenacious vitality, the locust commander could still make a sound from its abdomen, threatening Lin Jun loudly. Lin Jun laughed coldly. Who said I don't want to go back? Of course I want to go back, but I won't accept such humiliation. I, Lin Jun, was born with an indomitable spirit. Even the heavens and earth, the universe can't suppress me. What's more, you little insectoids are worse than dogs. How dare you bark in front of me? What a joke. Faint starlight began to leak from his body. Lin Jun exerted force with one hand. Crack. The locust commander's neck was immediately crushed by Lin Jun. Its head exploded like a watermelon. It couldn't be more dead. This squeeze completely cut off any possibility of peace talks. Virum. The yin-yang spear appeared in his hand. The roar of dragons and tigers could be heard. Lin Jun looked up to the sky and roared, "What kind of bullsh** T strategy is this? You disgusting insectoids. Green One didn't kill you all back then, and you dare to appear in front of me? Today, I'll make sure you go extinct in the chaotic galaxy." Chapter 538. While the crowd was shocked by Lin Jun's insanity, they could not help but admire Lin Jun's strength. Lin Jun had killed a level 3 galactic level locust commander in one move, and he himself was only in the black hole stage. At first, there were people who questioned how Lin Jun could take first place on the chaotic Star River kill list from Yihua, but after seeing this scene, they could only shut their mouths. However, this did not mean that people believed that he could survive. Killing a locust commander would not allow him to survive in this endless army of insectoids. Reckless, ignorant, disregarding the big picture, and other labels were placed on Lin Jun's head. The Mantis commander, who was watching the video from outside the tunnel, was furious. He immediately contacted Heartedef. "Heartedef, what are you doing? Did you tell Lin Jun to do this?" Heartedef was sweating profusely. He stuttered as he explained to Mantis, "Lord Commander, this may be a misunderstanding. Perhaps the locust commander was being too aggressive, and Lin Jun's temper is like a firecracker. That's why. I'll ask Lin Jun to stop immediately." Heartedef anxiously called for Lin Jun in the dimensional universe. Now that the locust commander had been killed, if Lin Jun continued to attack, then his plan would be completely ruined. He might even be buried here with Lin Jun. This was something he absolutely did not want to see. "Master, Heartedef has been calling for you." "Block him," Lin Jun replied. Now that he thought of it, he was anxious. So be it. The elite Mantis warriors on the opposite side had already closed in. Lin Jun gripped the yin-yang spear with both hands. The lightning wings on his back expanded, propelling his body into the enemy like a cannonball. Thunderkill. A bolt of lightning shot out from the spear, piercing through the ranks of the Mantis warriors and shooting into the asteroid belt in the distance. In the path of the Thunderkill, hundreds of black hole-stage Mantis warriors were killed instantly. Ha ha! The so-called insectoids are nothing more than this. The long spear in his hand turned into a rain of spears that filled the sky. Lin Jun was like a hedgehog with spikes all over his body, rolling forward. Wherever he passed, there was nothing that could withstand his attack. Meteor fall. A large number of Mantis warriors were killed. Lin Jun flew over and threw out an energy ball, killing another 100 warriors. Every time a Mantis warrior tried to surround Lin Jun, a starry sky would appear around him. The Sky River Star would explode and harvest the lives of the Mantis warriors. A ball of light dashed left and right, occasionally throwing out a spatial cut. It was a close-range attack. 10,000 elite Mantis warriors were actually unable to deal any damage to Lin Jun before they were all killed. The 4 Nebula Stage Mantis warrior leaders saw that Lin Jun was so brave and powerful, so they joined forces to attack him from above. However, Lin Jun teleported over and used his Phantom God Strike to easily kill them. When the 4 leaders fell, there were less than 1,000 Mantis warriors left. They wanted to use guerrilla warfare and wolf pack tactics to harass and surprise attack. Lin Jun sneered and released a gravitational force, grabbing the Mantis warriors that were circling in the distance one by one. In the air, a golden ray pierced through their brains. Under the gravitational force, these Mantis warriors could not even escape. The huge difference in strength made them unable to resist at all. They fell from the sky like fallen leaves. Close to 1,000 warriors did not even last a minute before their corpses were strewn all over the ground. After killing 10,000 Mantis warriors, Lin Jun headed straight for the spatial passage with his spear. In the video of the dimensional universe, everyone was dumbfounded. No one expected Lin Jun to be so fierce. Not only did he not retreat in the face of the insectoids, but he also took the initiative to kill the Vanguard team. However, at this moment, no one realized what Lin Jun was trying to do. In their opinion, Lin Jun was probably planning to escape through this passage. After all, the insectoids still had hundreds of millions of warriors. Even if they stood there and let Lin Jun kill them, he would not be able to kill them all. Even the Mantis commander thought so. When he saw Lin Jun heading straight for the passage, he immediately ordered, "Go! Don't let him escape. Block him in the passage." Under the orders of the high-level insectoids, a large number of warriors began to charge. This passage was about 100 meters in diameter. When countless insectoids began to charge, it was like a huge stream of water that instantly filled the passage. They entered from the entrance, and Lin Jun rushed out. Lin Jun's speed was much faster than the insectoids. He encountered them about 20,000 kilometers away from the passage. At this moment, the person broadcasting in the dimensional universe was Lin Jun himself. Everyone watching the video was watching from Lin Jun's point of view. It was like watching a 3D movie. The insectoids were madly charging over. They were ferocious and terrifying, as if they would tear Lin Jun apart in the next moment. Although Lin Jun had already displayed his super strength, there were just too many insectoids. No one believed that Lin Jun could escape alive. Spatial slash. The space in the passage trembled. Lin Jun raised his hand and released a powerful attack. More than 1,000 spatial cracks appeared. Each spatial rift was a 3-meter-long crescent moon. They whistled and spun forward. Thousands of crescent moons spun together, forming a dense torrent of death. No flesh and blood could withstand the cutting of the spatial rifts. For a moment, the video was filled with the sound of bodies shattering. The image was filled with flying flesh and blood. These spatial rifts whistled forward unstoppably. Lin Jun himself passed through the flesh and blood. This immersive scene made many people vomit on the spot. What a terrifying Lin Jun. Is he going to kill his way out? Oh my god, how many insectoids did this attack kill? I'm afraid it's at least a few million. If that's the case, maybe Lin Jun really has a chance to escape. On the insectoid side, the Mantis commander's face was gloomy. He waved his hand forcefully. Continue to attack. He can't continue this attack for a few times. The advantage of our insectoids is our numbers. The insectoid C tactic is enough to swallow anyone. The first wave of 5 million insectoids was wiped out by Lin Jun's spatial slash. However, there was a second wave. This time, there were 10 million insectoids. When they met Lin Jun at 17,000 kilometers, Lin Jun's body shook. A huge black galactic beast shadow appeared above his head. The black hole beast's ultimate move, natural devouring. Like a whale sucking in water, a huge whirlpool appeared. Lin Jun's move almost instantly killed all the insectoids below the galactic stage. However, there was only one galactic stage leader among the insectoids. Mantis and the rest planned to use the lives of ordinary soldiers to deplete Lin Jun's strength. Hence, it didn't send out more galactic stage insectoids. Hence, this scene appeared. Tens of millions of insectoids turned into streams of light and were all swallowed by the whirlpool. They turned into bean-sized objects and entered the black hole beast's mouth. Only the galactic stage leader of the 10 million insectoids survived. When the insectoids were chasing Lin Jun and Feng Qingwan, Lin Jun's doppelganger had used this move. Mantis knew that after devouring, Lin Jun would have difficulty moving for a period of time. This was the best opportunity to attack. Kill him. Kill Lin Jun. Right now, he can't move. Mantis gave the order to the galactic stage insectoid. That insectoid saw Lin Jun's situation and immediately screamed and rushed forward. He waved the huge insect blade in his hand. Mental evil spirit all. Lin Jun needed a short time to digest. However, his mental power could still be used. The mental evil spirit all was sent out. The galactic stage insectoid smirked. Lin Jun actually used mental attacks on other insectoids. This Lin Jun was at his wit's end. There was no use at all. Ugh! The smirk froze on his face. His mental sea seemed to have been ruthlessly stabbed. Then, countless demons and ghosts rushed into his mind and instantly turned his mental sea into a mess. Within a second, his brain was dead. Lin Jun did not even spare his corpse. He directly swallowed it into the black hole beast's mouth. Then, he looked at the empty tunnel in front of him and continued forward. The third and fourth batch of insectoids came one after another. However, under Lin Jun's spatial slash and natural devouring, especially in a tunnel where they could not attack from the front and back, the insectoids' advantage in numbers did not have any advantage at all. Not only did they not cause any trouble for Lin Jun, but they were also massacred by Lin Jun in large numbers. This was not a simple killing of a few. It was a massacre of millions and tens of millions. No matter how many insectoids there were, they could not withstand such a consumption. When Lin Jun walked out of the tunnel with only a few hundred kilometers left, he had already killed hundreds of millions of insectoids. Whether it was watching from Lin Jun's video or from Heartedef's video, everyone was surprised to find that the sky that was previously filled with insectoids had become sparse. 1 billion insectoids. More than 800 million were used to open the tunnel in the meteorite belt. There were only about 170 million insectoids left. And now, it seemed that the total number of insectoids in the entire universe did not exceed 50 million. This tunnel was a meat grinder for the insectoids. 120 million insectoids died in Lin Jun's hands just like that. Mantis was on his battleship. His hands were trembling. Lin Jun, what a powerful move. You remind me of Feng Qingwan. However, even if Feng Qingwan is here today, he must die. Beetle Commander, Scorpion Commander, Bumblebee Commander, Centipede Commander, Spider Commander, lead your most elite troops and kill Lin Jun together. No matter what, don't let him walk out of this tunnel. Once he enters the universe, it will be difficult for us to catch him again. The 5 commanders agreed in unison. Each of them brought their own direct troops. The cannon fodder was all dead. Now it was the elites. There were 30 million elite insectoids under the 5 commanders. The weakest of them was at the black hole stage. From Heartedef's live broadcast, people could clearly see the 5 commanders' troops setting off. Chapter 539. When he was 500 meters away from the passageway, Lin Jun took a look at the situation in the dimensional universe. Through Johan's broadcast, he could clearly see the situation of the 5 bug race commanders leading their troops to attack. At this point, Lin Jun did not continue forward. Instead, he stopped. It would not be easy to deal with the bug race if he walked out of the passageway and entered the starry sky. It was better to strike while the iron was hot and eliminate the main force of the bug race here. Lin Jun's current strength was comparable to a level 9 nebula expert. In addition, he had a few large-scale killing techniques, so he was not afraid of being outnumbered. Let's see what else you can do after I kill these 30 million bug race soldiers. He stood in the void and waited for the bug race soldiers to arrive. Without any superfluous words, the two sides met and immediately engaged in a bloody battle. No one could see Lin Jun's situation. They could only see the densely packed bug race soldiers rushing towards one point. Those at the back could not squeeze through, so they circled outside. Once they found an opportunity, they would rush down crazily. Everyone knew that once the bug race soldiers outside stopped charging, it meant that Lin Jun was dead. As long as the bug race soldiers continued charging, it meant that he was still alive. The 5 commanders surrounded him, waiting for the moment Lin Jun was exhausted before moving forward. The battle seemed to go on forever. People could only see the bug race soldiers falling from the battlefield one by one. The ground of the spatial passageway was gradually covered with bug race soldiers' corpses. Time passed quickly. The battle had gone on for an entire day and night. Nearly half of the 30 million bug race soldiers had been killed, but Lin Jun still had not been defeated. In the Fire Qilin Empire, 95% of the people watched this battle. Everyone was paying attention to Lin Jun's fate. Those who had said that Lin Jun was insensible had all shut up. Even if Lin Jun was insensible, he was still worthy of respect. The strong did not need to lower their heads. Reporting to the commander, one of our Scorpio race soldiers hit Lin Jun. The Mantis commander, who had been paying attention to the situation, said, "Oh, and then?" Then he was killed by Lin Jun." The Mantis commander's expression darkened. "Then what does this prove?" "Commander, this at least proves one thing. Lin Jun is tired. His physical strength and astral power are limited. As long as the intensity of the attacks continues, more and more Zergs will hit him and eventually kill him." The Mantis commander nodded silently. This was indeed good news. Otherwise, the insectoid warriors would have thought that Lin Jun was unkillable and undefeatable. Looking around, there were only the 10 million warriors of the Mantis clan and the 8 million warriors of the Acrypoid clan in the starry sky. These were originally the reserve forces left behind by Commander Mantis. Now it seemed that they should enter the battlefield at the right time. As long as they could completely kill Lin Jun, everything would be worth it. From this moment on, good news began to spread one after another. Lin Jun was tired. Lin Jun couldn't fight anymore. Lin Jun was stabbed by a hornet warrior. Lin Jun was bleeding from a beetle warrior's attack. One by one, the news spread through the 5 commanders, increasing the confidence of the insectoids. Meanwhile, the spectators were getting more and more depressed. Although Lin Jun was strong, if this continued, the insectoids would eventually win. However, they were helpless now. No one could save Lin Jun except for Hardadef and the others who were still there. However, at this point, Hardadef and the others were probably out of ideas as well. "Commander, I think we can continue to send more people. It's time to completely trap Lin Jun. He's about to die." Mantis thought for a while and finally nodded. However, he said, "Call Hardadef and the others over. It's time for them to come in handy." The densely packed insectoid attacks around them paused for a moment. A human warship sailed in. Lin Jun panted a few times. He held the yin-yang spear upside down and looked at the newcomer. His body was in a sorry state. There were many wounds on his body, but his expression was calm, as usual. The warship sailed close to Lin Jun. Hardadef and the other 50 rescue team members disembarked from the warship and approached Lin Jun. "Mr. Hardadef, what are you doing here?" Hardadef's face was filled with pain. "Lin Jun, why are you so insensible? Do you know how much effort I spent to get the insectoids to agree to let you live? But look at what happened now. Look at the mess you've made. How am I supposed to talk to you? Since you have nothing to say, why are you here? I have a responsibility. Lin Jun, listen to my advice. You can't fight the insectoids alone. Put down your weapon now. Mantis has promised me that as long as you put down your weapon, we'll let bygones be bygones. We can still solve this problem through negotiation. Believe me, as long as you pay the price, you still have a chance to live. Just put down my weapon? That's right. Come, give me the spear. We have to live," Hardadef said as he walked toward Lin Jun. He wanted to hold Lin Jun's hand. Lin Jun narrowed his eyes slightly. Then, he raised his hand and let Hardadef hold it. The people watching in the dimensional universe secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Jun was about to die. If there was really such an ending, it would undoubtedly be the best. When the two of them put their hands together, Hardadef suddenly grabbed Lin Jun's wrist from an angle that others couldn't see. Then, countless insectoids moved again. They rushed toward Lin Jun crazily. The insectoids are going back on their words. Lin Jun, run with me. Hardadef shouted. He suddenly exerted force on his wrist. He definitely wouldn't allow Lin Jun to escape. He wasn't helping Lin Jun at all. Instead, he was suppressing Lin Jun so that the insectoids could attack him. Hardadef had no other choice. There was no turning back. He could only attack Lin Jun. This was the only way he could survive. Other than Mantis and Lin Jun, he was the strongest among the people present. Even Lin Jun wouldn't be able to block his sudden attack. After all, the opponent was a level 9 nebula. However, he never expected Lin Jun to be prepared. Just as he grabbed Lin Jun's wrist and exerted force, Lin Jun raised his hand. A shiny 7-star sword slashed toward Hardadef's throat. Hardadef's lips curled into a sneer. Very good. Lin Jun, you finally couldn't hold back and attacked me. This is for the best. This way, no one will sympathize with you when you die. You actually attacked your fellow countrymen who were trying to rescue you. This time, the responsibility doesn't lie with me. I'll also be able to answer to Mantis. In his opinion, although Lin Jun's strength wasn't bad, there was still a gap between him and Lin Jun. After all, he was a level 9 nebula who had cultivated for nearly 1,000 years. What was Lin Jun to him? Lin Jun was just an upstart. How could Lin Jun compare to his deep foundation? Since Lin Jun had attacked him, he naturally had to retaliate. Thus, he was ready to draw his sword and fight back. However, what happened next was completely beyond his expectations. The only thing he could do was slowly look at Lin Jun. He watched as the short sword swung over and slit his throat. Hardadef, the level 9 nebula martialist, didn't even have time to react when he saw Lin Jun draw his sword. The space-time around him was completely still. There wasn't a trace of fluctuation. This was time stop. At the same time, he was a level 9 nebula. His star power strength wasn't much different from Lin Jun's. If Hardadef had been prepared, he would have had a chance to break through the time-stop force field with his powerful star power. Unfortunately, in a fight between masters, life and death were decided in an instant. By the time he reacted, the blade had already swept past, and there was a chill on his neck. Ugh! When the time stop ended, Hardadef covered his throat with both hands. Blood gushed out like a fountain, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Lin Jun's sword not only cut his throat, but also half of his neck. His head was almost chopped off. He could only let out an unwilling groan. He couldn't believe that Lin Jun would kill him so decisively. How did he see through him? How did he make it so that he couldn't fight back? Lin Jun didn't give him any explanation. After the sword slashed, he turned around and pulled out the spear shaft. Pop! Thousands of peach blossoms bloomed. Hardadef's head was smashed. Hardadef's live stream was completely cut off, and he died on the spot. People could only watch Hardadef's headless corpse fall backward from Lin Jun's live stream. This time, the entire dimensional universe was in an uproar. Not only did Lin Jun not accept Hardadef's help, but he also killed Hardadef with a single slash. He killed the Empire's captain who came all the way to rescue him. What is Lin Jun doing? Is he planning to commit treason? He killed Hardadef. Oh my god. If he wasn't still fighting the Zergs, I would really suspect that he has reached some kind of tacit agreement with the Zergs. Even if he didn't join forces with the Zergs, his actions are absolutely unforgivable. Lin Jun, I curse you to die in the chaotic Star River and never come back. Lin Jun didn't care about the consequences of killing Hardadef. He still had to face the Zergs that were coming at him from all directions. After seeing Hardadef die, Mantis knew that Lin Jun had seen through the matter. Fire Cheelant's rescue team was no longer of any use. Everyone attack. Kill Lin Jun once and for all. The Mantis warriors and Locust warriors beside him also joined the battle. The Zerg army of more than 10 million was once again reduced to more than 30 million, and the passage was tightly packed. However, not only was Lin Jun not afraid, she even revealed a smile. It's finally here. Has the entire army moved out? This is the moment I've been waiting for. Lin Jun, who seemed to be very tired just a moment ago, was suddenly full of vigor. His spear emitted a ray of light and killed a group of Zergs in front of him. He went straight for the wall that was piled up with Zerg corpses. The yin-yang spear in his hand emitted dazzling starlight. With an unparalleled momentum, Lin Jun gathered all the strength in his body and violently blasted at the wall. He wanted to break this wall, restore the meteorite belt on Sky Island, and make the dimensional storm appear again. Chapter 540. Everyone was stunned when they saw Lin Jun's actions. This included the people in the dimensional universe, Mantis, and even the rescue team that came with Johann. Lin Jun, this bastard, could actually come up with such an unimaginable plan. He must have purposely attracted all the Zerg forces here. As long as this wall was destroyed, the spatial storm outside would rush in again, and everyone would be finished. Stop him! Mantis was far away at the outermost edge of the passage. At the moment, he had no way of stopping Lin Jun. He could only hope that his subordinates could stop him. If Lin Jun succeeded, he would suffer a crushing defeat in the chaotic Star River. The first to react was the Fire Cheelance rescue team. Lin Jun, you are so vicious. Do you want to drag us down with you? You killed the captain, and you still don't want to let us go? Lin Jun, don't even think about it. Everyone kill him. With Johann dead, the remaining 49 Nebula Stage experts swarmed toward Lin Jun. They had to stop Lin Jun from destroying the wall, no matter what. Under the encirclement of the endless bug tribe, an internal battle between human warriors could actually occur. This was also considered unheard of. Lin Jun didn't feel the slightest bit of pity for these people. Regardless of whether they knew about Johann's actions or not, ever since this team had arrived in the chaotic Star River, every single one of them had appeared as if they were the saviors of the world, as if Lin Jun was inferior to them. Lin Jun didn't know what gave them the right to do so, but today, Lin Jun didn't have to worry about their opinions. Since they were trying to stop him, they were his enemies. If they were his enemies, then he would kill them without mercy. The manifest god strike ferociously slammed into the wall and immediately caused a dense spiderweb of cracks to appear on the wall. Lin Jun seemed to be able to hear the sound of the space storm outside, but this wall was very thick and couldn't be broken with one shot. Lin Jun completely ignored the rescue team that was chasing after him and continued to attack fiercely. As for dealing with the rescue team, Lin Jun did not need to personally take action. 7-star blade. Clang, 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 clang. 7 rays of light flew out under Lin Jun's command, bringing with them endless elemental power. The sharp blade of metal, the cold blade of ice, the shining blade of holy light, the burning blade of flame, the whistling blade of hurricane, the powerful blade of rock, and the raging blade of thunder. The 7 sabers seemed to be controlled by someone. Each saber had its own master. They flew through the air at incredible angles and speeds, easily reaping the lives of the rescue team. Every time they launched a joint attack, one of them would fall under their blades. One attack from the 7-star saber could kill 7 people. These 49 people were only enough for 7 attacks from the 7-star saber. The speed at which they massacred humans was no slower than the speed at which they massacred the insectoids. After 3 consecutive attacks, and 21 people had fallen, Lin Jun finally broke through the wall. Kacha, 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 kacha. When a series of cracks appeared and the sound of beans exploding was heard, both the rescue team and the Zerg surrounding Lin Jun couldn't help but stop their attacks. The city wall was about to collapse. Once this wall collapsed, the meteorite belt would recover and the space storm would run rampant again. This 100,000 kilometers of meteorite belt would become hell on Earth again. Seeing this, Mantis was so anxious that his mouth was about to blister. He roared, "You can't stop? If you stop, Lin Jun will immediately break the wall. Then, everyone will die. 5 commanders cooperate with Fire Cheelance adventurer team and immediately kill Lin Jun. If you're slow, you won't have a chance." After being yelled at by the Mantis, the 5 insectoid commanders seemed to have woken up from a dream. They immediately shouted, "Fire Cheelance team, you don't have a chance to turn back. If you join forces with us to kill Lin Jun, you can live. If not, everyone will die. Go." The beetle commander even ordered the surrounding zergs. Don't just stand there. Continue to block the wall with your bodies and maintain the stability of this wall. This is an order. The zergs who couldn't do anything now had a chance to do something. They began to use their bodies to release astral power to block the collapsing tunnel. This move was indeed somewhat effective, and the passageway was temporarily stabilized. However, this was all temporary. If the combined forces of the 5 great commanders and a small team of humans could not take down Lin Jun, this disaster was unavoidable. 28 human Nebula Stage warriors and 5 commanders. The humans and the zergs had finally joined forces. Find a few people to block the 7 flying knives. Experts, come and cooperate with the 5 of us in close combat. Go! The Bumblebee commander roared and joined forces with the other 4 commanders. They charged at Lin Jun from all directions. Among the 28 human warriors, 14 of the weaker ones focused on dealing with the 7-star knives. The remaining 14 followed behind the 5 commanders and charged forward together. Armor transformation. Lin Jun used his armor for the first time since the start of the battle. Black scales covered his entire body. Lin Jun looked like a giant beast from ancient times. He held the yin-yang spear with both hands and charged forward fiercely. I'll let you know what true strength is. Roar! The yin-yang spear drew a circle in the air and swept horizontally. The Bumblebee commander, who was the fastest, couldn't block Lin Jun's casual attack after his armor transformation. He was smashed into meat paste on the spot. Go to hell. 2 sword lights slashed across Lin Jun's scales, creating a string of sparks. However, they couldn't break through Lin Jun's scales. Lin Jun shook his spear and easily killed the 2 human warriors who attacked him. Clang! A long staff swept over and smashed into Lin Jun's back. Lin Jun swung his hand and clawed out, tearing off the head of a human warrior. Whoosh whoosh. The 2 human warriors were extremely fast. They suddenly rushed to Lin Jun's left and right. They grabbed Lin Jun's arms and pushed Lin Jun's body back. On the other side, the Scorpion commander brandished his saber and went straight for Lin Jun's throat. Mental evil spirit all. Lin Jun's eyes narrowed. The mental evil spirit all pierced the Scorpion commander's mind, causing him to fall into a daze. Lin Jun's hands exerted strength and slammed the 2 human warriors together. Their momentum had already disappeared. They couldn't resist Lin Jun's strength and were smashed to death. He flew up and kicked the Scorpion commander's chest. Another insectoid commander died in battle. Several more people rushed over. Lin Jun suddenly retreated and waved his hand, sending out a small spatial slash. A spatial crack whizzed out. The centipede commander and 6 human warriors died on the spot. Ha ha! So what if you join hands to deal with me? You only have this much strength. Today, none of you will leave. Lin Jun finally got a chance to catch his breath. He suddenly turned around and stabbed the wall behind him with a spear. Lin Jun only focused on attacking one point. No matter how hard the surrounding insectoids tried to block him, it was futile. The 7-star saber flashed and danced, completely blocking the path of attack of the human warriors and the remaining 2 insectoid commanders. No one came to harass him anymore. The temporary wall couldn't withstand Lin Jun's bombardment and finally broke open. The moment the wall broke open, Lin Jun teleported several hundred meters away and put away the 7-star saber. A sharp spatial storm surged in, and large sections of the surrounding walls began to collapse. 1,000 Li dikes collapsed because of an anthole. Xiao 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 xiao. Meteorites shot out like cannonballs, easily smashing the insectoids that were trying to block them into meat paste. The endless storm began to howl again. Sparkling elemental energy kept appearing under the spatial cracks. The collapse of the wall was unstoppable. Retreat. If we don't retreat now, we won't be able to leave. The remaining beetle commanders and spider commanders turned and ran. There were also a dozen human warriors who frantically retreated. They no longer cared about killing Lin Jun. Besides, they couldn't kill him anyway. But they never expected that before they could get far, Lin Jun had already teleported in front of them. He used a spatial slash on the path of the insectoid army's retreat. This spatial slash completely cut off any hope of the insectoid army retreating. The collapsed passageway roared and surged, easily swallowing the tens of millions of insectoid soldiers. The insectoid warriors probably never dreamed that more than 100 million warriors would surround and kill Lin Jun. After losing a lot of cannon fodder, their elite troops had been dispatched. However, before they could finish off Lin Jun, they had been successfully counterattacked by Lin Jun and wiped out in one fell swoop. This included 50 human warriors. Every one of them was a nebula stage expert. There was even a nebula-level leader among them. However, they hadn't been able to do much. Lin Jun was simply crazy. He had killed the insectoids and his own people. All the sounds were swallowed up by the meteorite belt that had resumed its rotation. Everyone's shadows were also lost in the collapsed passageway. The Mantis commander stood alone in the void, watching everything in a daze. Was it all over? His 4 years of hard work had all been lost just like that. Although Lin Jun hadn't come out, this outcome didn't make him feel any relief. Instead, it made him feel bitter. Lin Jun, you got off too easy. So many people will die with you. You died a worthy death. Mantis lowered his head dejectedly and turned to leave. He still had the insectoid mother nest. As long as he returned to the mother nest, he would be able to raise an army in a few years and continue to dominate the chaotic Star River. He would be the only king here. However, as soon as he turned around, he saw Lin Jun, who was covered in black scales and wielding a yin-yang spear, appear behind him. You what? Are you surprised to see that I'm not dead? Mantis quickly calmed down. With a wave of his hands, he separated his 2 huge mantis blades. Lin Jun, so many people didn't kill you, but that doesn't mean that I can't kill you. You won't be able to escape today. Lin Jun's eyes widened. Mantis, I've never thought of escaping. I've said it before. Since the insectoids dared to come, prepare to be exterminated in the chaotic Star River. Give me your life. I'm going to avenge Little Phoenix. After a loud roar, the wind and clouds in the sky rolled. Lin Jun's aura was earth-shattering. Mantis instinctively felt fear before the battle even started. Just as he was about to receive Lin Jun's unprecedented attack, the soaring aura from before suddenly disappeared. Time fell silent at this moment. Chapter 541. The Mantis commander stared at the spear in his chest in disbelief. He could not believe that Lin Jun could do something like this. His astral power had reached 5,300 points, but when Lin Jun's spear stabbed him, time stood still. His astral power was not used at all. He was unprepared, and it happened so suddenly that he did not have time to break the time field. Lin Jun's spear pierced through him. This was the magical effect of time standing still. As long as you were not fully prepared for Lin Jun's move, you would often lose your life. Lin Jun stabbed the Mantis commander and twisted the yin-yang spear. The energy exploded, and the Mantis's organs were instantly smashed into pieces. This was Lin Jun. Once he gained the upper hand, he would never give his opponent any chance to turn the tables. Only a dead enemy was the safest enemy. The Mantis commander did not even leave a last word before he collapsed on the spot. He thought that with the Zerg's strong recovery ability, he would have a chance to fight back. But now there was nothing left. After killing the Mantis commander, Lin Jun took his interspatial ring. Lin Jun stored all the corpses into the Dark Star. The floating island that was filled with Zergs a moment ago had been completely cleaned up. The meteorite belt around the floating island had returned to its original state. All traces of the battle had been swallowed up by the space storm. It was as if nothing had ever happened here. Lin Jun teleported to a nearby, small planet. There was a Zerg hive here, a beetle hive. Countless Zerg eggs were hatching on the hive. Small beetles crawled in and out. Given enough time, a new batch of Zergs would be born here. Lin Jun flicked his finger, and a pure white flame flew out and landed on the fungus carpet on the ground. The flame immediately swept forward and swallowed all the fungus carpet. Finally, the huge Zerg hive turned into a flaming cave. This was the true fire produced by the fusion of the fire Qilin and fire phoenix bloodlines. The insectoid mother nest was unable to resist at all and was incinerated. After burning down the beetle hive, Lin Jun used planet teleportation to destroy the Scorpio hive, hornet hive, and mantis hive. All the larvae were directly devoured by Lin Jun into the dark star, becoming nourishment for the dark star. After doing all this, Lin Jun looked up at the starry sky. "Little Phoenix, did you see that? I've already avenged half of your grudge. All the insectoids are dead. Next, I won't let the people from the Empire off either. Just wait patiently for the day I resurrect you." A colorful cloud flew across the sky like a dancing phoenix. After letting out a long sigh, Lin Jun felt a lot more comfortable in his heart. Lin Jun opened Mantis's spatial ring. This was the item that he had been looking forward to the most. As the insectoid commander of the chaotic Star River, Mantis was definitely quite wealthy. However, after opening it, Lin Jun frowned. A bank card. It was another annoying bank card. Lin Jun had killed many people since his rebirth, but most of the time, the spoils of war were just a bank card. The assets in the bank card couldn't be taken out. Warriors were a precarious occupation, so the bank would make a lot of money from the dead. Other than the bank card, Lin Jun rummaged through Mantis's spatial ring for a while and found a large pile of metal ores. These were things that he hadn't had the time to process and convert into cash. They were worth about 2 to 3 billion cosmos crystals. There's a secret book. When Lin Jun took out the book, he was instantly filled with excitement. This was actually the 8th style of 9 heavy spear river, Collapse. Lin Jun had only learned the 7th style of 9 heavy spear river, Starfall. He didn't know where the 8th style was, nor did he know where Mantis got it from. It was actually hidden in the spatial ring. Collapse was a super battle technique. With one spear strike, the void would shatter. If Lin Jun could collapse before, breaking the wall of Zergs would only be a matter of one spear strike. It was the most powerful killing technique. Lin Jun's time stop, spiritual evil spirit all, spiritual object control technique, and even space slash couldn't be compared to Collapse in terms of pure killing power. Ha! I still have some gains. The value of this book alone is immeasurable to me. As for money, I can still earn it. After obtaining Collapse, Lin Jun even wanted to start cultivating immediately. "Master, the dimensional universe is in an uproar. You should go and take a look." Before cultivating, he received a notification from Crazy. Lin Jun went to the dimensional universe to take a look. Almost the entire Empire was discussing whether Lin Jun's actions were right or wrong. To be able to kill hundreds of millions of Zergs by himself, Lin Jun's strength was undoubtedly very strong. He could be considered as one of the top in the entire galaxy stage. However, this didn't mean that his actions of killing the rescue team were right. Some people suggested that Lin Jun be punished. Some said that Lin Jun's reward for being number 1 on the kill list should be revoked. Others said that Lin Jun should be punished. Of course, there were also many people who supported Lin Jun. They said that swords had no eyes. If he didn't kill the rescue team, they would have been a burden. This outcome couldn't be better. Lin Jun watched for a while, then directly transmitted the words that John said when he was brainwashed into the dimensional universe. That was definitely a hot topic. The Mechanical Realm King ordered the rescue team to assassinate Lin Jun. Once this matter was exposed, it would definitely be a huge blow to the Mechanical Realm King in Yihua's image. Lin Jun himself wouldn't be held responsible. After all, the people wouldn't tolerate such a traitor who colluded with the Zergs. However, after the video was uploaded, many people saw it. However, the comments below shocked Lin Jun. After seeing this, no one blamed Lin Jun anymore. However, no one blamed the Mechanical Realm King either. Some scolded the dead John and the others, scolding them for forgetting righteousness and so on. However, no one said anything bad about the Mechanical Realm King. Lin Jun closed his eyes. He realized that he might have made a common mistake. "Chris, can you tell me what's going on?" "Soon," Chris gave a reply. "Master, I just found out that World King powerhouses have judicial immunity in the advanced universe countries. In other words, they're not bound by the Empire's laws. People who live in the advanced universe countries for a long time all know this. Lin Jun was surprised. The time he spent in the fire Qilin was very short. He only stayed for 2 days before entering the chaotic Star River. He wasn't clear about many things in the Empire. Even if his avatar stayed in the Empire for a long time, in order to keep it a secret, Lin Jun's avatar didn't see anyone. He only focused on forging divine tools. He never knew about this matter. In his previous life, he didn't even leave the Sky River Empire. Of course, he didn't know about this matter. Why do world kings have judicial immunity? Master, every world king is qualified to take over the position of emperor of an advanced universe country. It can be said that they're the mainstay of the empire. Even the emperor has to respect these world king powerhouses. When the empire is on the brink of life and death, low-level martial artists are basically useless. In the end, the factor that determines the strength of an empire is the world king. The more powerhouses there are world kings, the more powerful an empire will be. Moreover, world kings have a very deep relationship with each other. There is no empire that dares to offend a world king, because that is the same as digging their own grave. In history, when an empire was overthrown or rebuilt, it was almost always done by a world king. Do you think that a world king would have a different status? Lin Jun was silent. This was something he didn't expect. Not only do they have judicial immunity, but a world king has an identity above almost everyone. They're not bound by the law. Moreover, the dimensional universe has a real name system. Who dares to offend a world king? That's almost the same as courting death. Therefore, although many people sympathize with your experience, no one dares to say anything for you. Lin Jun looked at the comments. People weren't very enthusiastic about Lin Jun, because everyone knew that Lin Jun's post could only invite disaster. Some kind-hearted people even said, Lin Jun, delete it. Most people didn't dare to say such words. From this, one can see the deterrent power of a world king. Lin Jun could understand this behavior very well. What does a world king represent? It almost represents the highest combat power of an advanced universe country. Unparalleled strength, unrestrained by the law. Who dares to offend a world king? Lin Jun even saw some familiar names under the comments. For example, the dwarf Nicole he met before, and the Galactic Beast Alliance's Han Sha. Their comments were more pertinent. Lin Jun, I know about your matter, but delete it. People have to bow their heads. Let bygones be bygones. Treat this as a growing experience. You still have a long way to go in the future. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Jun, remember, you're not alone. You still have your family and your fief. Don't lose the big picture for the small. Lin Jun didn't say anything for a long time. He silently watched the video. If he deleted it now, it would mean that he had given in. Once he gave in, he couldn't find trouble with Yihua anymore. It could be said that he couldn't take revenge for the little phoenix. If he didn't give in, what would the future hold? Perhaps it would be very, very difficult. Even his family would be in danger. At this time, a comment appeared. Lin Jun, I'll give you 1 minute to delete this video. I can pretend that this matter never happened. The name of the person who left the comment was Golden, representing his high status. Mechanical World King. After this comment appeared, there were no more comments. Everyone was watching, waiting for Lin Jun's choice. Chapter 542. It was just a short minute, but the pressure was suffocating. No one spoke, no one left a message. They were all waiting. Once the video disappeared, it would mean that Lin Jun had surrendered. 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds. When they thought the video was about to disappear, Lin Jun spoke. People always have some things they can't give up. I only have one thing to say. Either Yihua pays for my little phoenix with his life, or fuck you. A minute passed while Lin Jun was leaving his message, but at this moment, it was even quieter than before. Countless people were paying attention to this post, and at this moment, they were all dumbfounded. It wasn't until 10 seconds later that the Mechanical Realm King said a single word. Good. Then he left. The entire Fire Qilin Empire's forum exploded once again. No one thought that the Mechanical Realm King had surrendered to Lin Jun. This single word represented his inner world, indicating that at this time, he was extremely angry. If they could see the Mechanical Realm King in person, they would have gritted their teeth and said the word good. Lin Jun was really bold. He actually dared to talk nonsense to a world king powerhouse in the dimensional universe. Was he tired of living? The dwarf Nicole left a message on the network, writing a large, convinced word. This word was like a soldier in a line, and the people behind him were all saying the same word. No matter what Lin Jun would do in the future, at this moment, Lin Jun had really convinced them. He was the first person who dared to talk back to a world king in the dimensional universe. Looking at the rows of convinced words, Lin Jun let out a long breath. This choice wasn't easy. He had considered the future, but when he thought of the little phoenix's dying appearance, Lin Jun couldn't give up on avenging her no matter what. As for the matter of his family, Lin Jun had already thought about it. He knew many wormholes, and he could immediately return to the Sky River Empire and take away his family. At most, they would be exiled in the universe, but he couldn't go against his heart. Going against one's heart was a taboo for a martial artist. In the future, it might even form a heart demon, affecting one's martial arts cultivation. This was one of the reasons why Lin Jun couldn't give in. Maybe he could give in today, but in the future, when the calamity came, he would never be able to pass this hurdle in his heart. If he didn't turn into ashes, then he would never be able to advance. This was fatal for a person who was determined to pursue the peak of martial arts. Lin Jun couldn't do that. Therefore, after saying this, he actually felt a sense of relief in his heart. When some things were thrown out, there was nothing to be afraid of. Just when he was about to leave the dimensional universe, someone suddenly added him as a friend. Master, someone wants to add you as a friend. His name is King of the Chaotic World. Lin Jun was taken aback for a moment. He had heard a lot about World King for a long time. Among the kings of the entire Fire Kirin Empire, World King's strength is one of the best. Moreover, this person has another identity, that is, the Master of the Little Phoenix. Just this identity alone was worthy of Lin Jun's respect. The reason why the Heavenly Flame Star shifting store could continue to operate smoothly was because of the Chaos World Monarch. After the Chaos World Monarch took over the Blue Luan Association, no one dared to provoke the Blue Luan Association. Lin Jun immediately added World King as a friend. Soon, a virtual image appeared in the dimensional universe. A man who looked to be in his 30s appeared in the image. This person didn't look like a master at all. He was chubby, not very tall, and had a simple and honest look. He didn't look like a martial artist, but a bit like an uncle that could be seen everywhere. Lin Jun, do you know me? I know your name, but this is the first time I've seen you. Hello, Senior. Haha, if others call me Senior, I might not even care about them. But based on what you said just now, I recognize you as Senior. You should call me that. Lin Jun couldn't follow up with World King's words for a moment. He didn't know what he meant. Lin Jun, can you swear on your martial heart that you will definitely avenge the Blue Luan? Even though World King said such solemn words, he still gave people a sloppy feeling. However, Lin Jun didn't hesitate and said, I can, as long as I'm still alive. Good boy. You have the demeanor of my youth. World King clapped his hands fiercely. Do you know? Just now, when that old bastard Mechanical Realm King threatened you, I secretly decided in my heart that if you give up on avenging my disciple and submit to that old guy, even if the Heavenly King comes, he won't be able to save you. I'll be the first to chop you into pieces. Lin Jun smiled and said, So you're saying that I just walked through the gates of hell? That's right, but your performance has satisfied me. In view of your performance, I can tell you that you don't have to worry about Mechanical Realm King. World King powerhouses are not allowed to interfere in disputes below the Domain King level. In other words, before you enter the Domain King level, you don't have to worry about that old guy personally dealing with you. This is the rule of World King. Lin Jun relaxed slightly after hearing this. With such a rule, he would be much safer. However, Mechanical Realm King is not a good person. He might use other methods to deal with you, but you don't have to worry about the safety of your family. With me here, your family will definitely be safe. That's great. Lin Jun, thanks, Senior. AI, you don't have to thank me, but don't relax. I won't let Mechanical Realm King intervene in these matters. At the same time, I can't personally deal with Yi Hua and avenge Luan Er. These things still depend on you. I will always pay attention to you. I hope you don't let me down, and don't let that silly girl down. Lin Jun nodded silently. As long as his family was safe and Mechanical Realm King couldn't personally deal with him, Lin Jun was confident that he could deal with all difficulties. Okay, I'm just telling you about this matter. In addition, your craftsmanship is not bad. After saying that, Chaos World King cut off the communication with the dimensional universe. Lin Jun was stunned for a moment. He secretly thought that World King was really resourceful. His avatar was refining on the Qilin's sacred planet. He didn't tell anyone, but he couldn't hide it from his eyes. It's just that he didn't mention Feng Qingluan's death. Lin Jun didn't know what it meant. This also made Lin Jun have a little more guess. Maybe resurrecting Little Phoenix wasn't a dream. Today could be considered a blessing in disguise. Although he had completely offended Mechanical Realm King, he unexpectedly gained Chaos World King's favor. For the time being, he didn't have to worry about anything. Since the trouble with Mechanical Realm King had temporarily disappeared, Lin Jun wouldn't continue to stay in Chaotic Star River. He decided to immediately return to Qilin's sacred planet, going back to earn money, and, at the same time, looking for an opportunity to deal with Yihua and Tianxi. The small spaceship was taken out from the dark star space. Lin Jun looked back at the floating island, and then looked in the direction of the garbage treatment plant. He had a feeling that he would come back. The small spaceship turned into a stream of light and went straight in the direction of the light corridor. Damn bastard. Chaos World, that old bastard. How dare he interfere? He even found a few world kings to threaten me, telling me not to interfere in your affairs. The furious Mechanical Realm King raised one of his arms. Liquid metal flowed on his arm and turned into a long blade. With one slash, he destroyed the house. Then, it turned into a war hammer and smashed the ground. Finally, the arm straightened and turned into a rotating machine gun. Balls of elemental bullets whistled out, shattering the surrounding manors and villas. When he was angry, no one dared to approach him, including his son Yihua. Only when the metal machine gun in his hand stopped rotating and slowly emitted green smoke did Yihua slowly walk over. Father, don't be too angry. I didn't want you to interfere in this matter. The matter between Lin Jun and I still have to rely on myself to solve. Although Lin Jun is very strong now, I have also advanced to level 9 star system. I definitely won't lose to him. Didn't you say that this is a test for me? The Mechanical Realm King pondered for a while and slowly nodded. All right, to be able to say such words, it proves that you have really grown. I have seen Lin Jun's strength. Although his potential might be stronger than yours, his absolute strength is still inferior to yours. You just have to be careful, and he won't have a chance. Don't worry, Father. I will definitely find a chance to deal with him. In this world, I am definitely not the only one who wants Lin Jun dead. In the imperial palace of Qilin capital, Emperor Tian Haoyu sat on the Qilin throne, waiting for Lin Jun's arrival. He was very clear about what had happened in the dimensional universe in the past few days, but he didn't express any opinions. Since Lin Jun could return today, it proved that the Mechanical Realm King couldn't do anything to Lin Jun for the time being. This made Tian Haoyu pay more attention to Lin Jun. He specially announced that Lin Jun could come to the Imperial Palace today to receive the reward for first place on the killing list. For first place on the killing list, there would be the title of Duke, a reward of 10 billion cosmos crystals, and a high-grade celestial weapon. Below the Emperor, the ministers of the Empire were also looking forward to it. They wanted to see what was so outstanding about this young hero who had relied on his own strength to kill hundreds of millions of Zergs in the Chaotic Star River. Compared to his magnificent feat of killing Zergs, the fact that the Mechanical Realm King couldn't do anything to him was also something that made people curious. They didn't know how Lin Jun did it. Lin Jun has arrived. The guard's loud shout was heard. Tian Haoyu waved his hand. Let him in. After that, Lin Jun's figure appeared at the entrance of the hall. Tian Haoyu's dignified gaze landed on Lin Jun. Before he could say a word, he suddenly went into a daze. He wasn't the only one who was stunned. When Lin Jun saw the Emperor, he was also stunned. It wasn't because of Tian Haoyu's formidable strength, but because he felt the same aura from Tian Haoyu's body. Chapter 543. This was the first time Lin Jun met someone with the same bloodline as him. After seeing Tian Haoyu, Lin Jun immediately understood something. To become the emperor of the Fire Qilin Empire, one must first possess the bloodline of the super-galactic beast, Fire Qilin. This was the prerequisite. However, it was very difficult to obtain a super-galactic beast gene. Lin Jun had only seen 3 other people who had obtained one so far. One was Yi Hua's Golden Dragon bloodline, another was Feng Qing Wan's Phoenix bloodline, and the last one was the emperor in front of him, Tian Haoyu. After seeing Lin Jun, Tian Haoyu was obviously very shocked. He couldn't help but walk down from his seat and stand in front of Lin Jun, sizing him up. After a while, Tian Haoyu couldn't help but say, "It's not a Fire Qilin. It's even better than a Fire Qilin. Your bloodline is really unique. It's actually a mutation of the Fire Qilin's genes." His words entered Lin Jun's ears, but the others couldn't. They didn't have Tian Haoyu's eyesight to be able to tell that Lin Jun's bloodline was that of a mutated galactic beast. Lin Jun bowed to Tian Haoyu. "Your Majesty, it's a pleasure to meet you. You make me feel very close." "Hee, I think so too. You must be Lin Jun. You're indeed a young hero. Have a seat." Someone brought a chair over for Lin Jun, and Lin Jun sat down. Even though the advanced universe countries were super empires, they weren't like the mortals. There were many outdated rules and customs. There weren't many rules between the emperor and his subjects. "Lin Jun, you've done a great service for the empire this time. You've obtained first place on the kill list. The reward for first place has always been reserved for you. Now that you're back, it's time to redeem it." With that, Tian Haoyu waved his hand, and someone brought over some items. Lin Jun was also secretly excited. His current assets had reached 35 billion cosmos crystals. If he could obtain another 10 billion cosmos crystals here, he would only need another 5 billion to advance to a 5-star supreme in the universe first bank. 5 billion was not particularly difficult for Lin Jun. He could quickly raise enough money by selling some of the things he had on hand. At that time, he would be able to obtain information regarding the Phoenix's nirvana. This was something that Lin Jun had always been looking forward to. The waiter came over and opened a tray. There was a gold medal and a bank card on it. "Lin Jun, this is our Fire Qilin Empire's Duke medal. Because you've killed over 100 million insectoids in the Chaotic Star River, I've specially granted you a title, the 100 Victories Duke. I wish you success in your cultivation in the future and victory in every battle." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Lin Jun accepted the gold medal. This duke's status was extraordinary. Even the emperors of intermediate-level civilizations would have to address him respectfully. This was on par with the emperors of intermediate-level civilizations. Moreover, as a high-ranking aristocrat of an advanced-level universe country, Lin Jun also had a large degree of judicial immunity. At least within the intermediate-level universe country, no one had the right to punish him. Only the emperor of the Fire Qilin Empire had the right to punish him. If Lin Jun requested, he could even obtain a fief equivalent to an elementary-level universe country. However, Lin Jun didn't have such plans for the time being. This identity, coupled with the identity of a customer of the Supreme Bank, could allow Alice to inquire more information, which was what Lin Jun needed. Because of his insufficient authority, Lin Jun had no way to know many secrets. With this identity, Lin Jun could inquire about many secrets according to his memory. After wearing the medal, Lin Jun's identity in the dimensional universe changed. His original identity was the Count of the Sky River Empire, but now it was automatically replaced by the 100 Victories Duke of the Fire Qilin Empire. Keep this bank card well. You can check the password in the smart system. There are 10 billion cosmos crystals in it. This is your reward. Lin Jun received it. 45 billion cosmos crystals. He still needed 5 more. Tian Haoyu continued. In addition to these 2 things, we have also prepared a high-grade heaven artifact for you. You should know that heaven artifacts can only be created by World King powerhouses. They're extremely rare. You have to grasp this opportunity well. "Oh, why didn't you give it to me directly?" Lin Jun asked. Originally, I plan to give a random heaven artifact to the first place winner, but Lin Jun, your contribution this time is too great. Ordinary heaven artifacts can't represent your merit. So in a while, someone will lead you to the treasury of our Fire Qilin Empire. You can choose anything you want inside. There are many heaven artifacts inside. I hope you can gain something. Lin Jun nodded, bid farewell to Tian Haoyu, and followed the attendant to the treasury. After turning a few corners in the imperial palace, Lin Jun felt a surge of spiritual energy from afar, making him feel incomparably comfortable. What is that place? That is the Qilin Pond that only the royal family can use. Qilin Pond? What does that mean? The attendant patiently explained to Lin Jun. The Qilin Pond is not simple. It is the sacred land of our Fire Qilin Empire. Even if you're a member of the royal family, as long as you haven't truly awakened the Fire Qilin bloodline, you can't use the Qilin Pond. Only when you have awakened the power of your bloodline and reached the peak of the juvenile stage will you be qualified to use the Qilin Pond. Peak of the juvenile stage? That's right. The so-called peak of the juvenile stage means that you already have the appearance of Qilin, but your strength isn't strong enough. After soaking in the Qilin Pond, you can break through the juvenile stage and advance to the adult stage. At that time, the fighting power of the galactic beast form is equivalent to that of a domain monarch. Lin Jun was stunned. You said that the fighting power of the galactic beast form is equivalent to that of a domain monarch? That's right. A galactic beast in the juvenile stage is equivalent to a domain monarch, and a galactic beast in the mature stage is equivalent to a world king. You should know this, right? Of course, Lin Jun knew this. However, he never thought that the Qilin Pond could actually allow someone to break through to the domain monarch level. In that case, if his clone reached the peak of the juvenile stage, he could also come here to break through. If I'm not a member of the royal family, I can't use it? In principle, yes. However, in the history of our empire, there have been exceptions. For example, if you have made a great contribution, as long as you can convince His Majesty, you might have a chance to use the Qilin Pond. Hearing this, Lin Jun stopped in his tracks and didn't continue heading to the treasury. He chose to add Emperor Tian Haoyu as a friend in the dimensional universe. Ordinary people didn't have the right to add the emperor, but Lin Jun was now the empire's Baixing Duke, so he naturally had the right. On the other side, Tian Haoyu quickly accepted Lin Jun's request and asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with our new Baixing Duke? Did you make a mistake in choosing a heaven artifact and need me to give you some guidance?" "It's like this, Your Majesty. I don't want to choose a heaven artifact anymore. Can I use my contribution this time to exchange for a chance to soak in the Qilin Pond?" Soak in the Qilin Pond? Tian Haoyu was stunned and didn't reply for a long time. After a while, he said, "That's fine. You did make a great contribution this time. I'll make an exception this time. However, you won't be rewarded with a heaven artifact." "Thank you, Your Majesty. I understand. Furthermore, I won't be coming over now. It might be some time later." Tian Haoyu didn't say anything else and closed the dimensional universe. After a while, the attendant gave Lin Jun a token. "Mr. Lin Jun, this is from His Majesty. When you think it's appropriate, take this token and come to the Qilin Pond once. No one will stop you." Lin Jun took the token. It was the pass to the Qilin Pond that Tian Haoyu had given him. He put it away solemnly. In Lin Jun's opinion, Cultivation Realm was the best reward. The right to use the Qilin Pond was definitely priceless. Since he couldn't choose any more heaven artifacts, Lin Jun turned and left the palace. After leaving the palace, Lin Jun couldn't wait to go to some pawn shops and auction houses. He wanted to sell the things in his hands and strive to raise 5 billion cosmos crystals so that he could immediately upgrade his bank card and obtain information about the Phoenix's nirvana. For a long time, Lin Jun had killed many people. However, the amount of money he obtained wasn't much. After all, the majority of martial artists were used to keeping their money in their bank cards. This way, even if they were to encounter an accident one day, they wouldn't benefit the person who killed them. Without any other choice, Lin Jun could only sell his family property. The ores godly weapons, spaceships, and all sorts of strange things he obtained from killing people were all sold as long as they weren't of use to him. However, 5 billion cosmos crystals was an astronomical figure. Lin Jun sold almost everything he had, but in the end, he was still short of 1 billion cosmos crystals. In the end, Lin Jun exchanged all the currencies he had accumulated from various civilizations and universe countries. Finally, he managed to gather a total of 50 billion cosmos crystals. Let's go to the universe first bank. In the dimensional universe, Lin Jun appeared at the universe first bank's fire Qilin branch. Looking at the towering bank door, Lin Jun couldn't help but sigh. Who was the one who established this universe first bank? Where was the headquarters? He had come to the bank countless times in his previous life, but he had never heard of which universe country the headquarters was in. There was also the Dimensional Universe Corporation, the Dimensional Arena, these giant industries. He didn't even know where their headquarters were. A high-level civilization universe country is definitely not the pinnacle of the universe. There must be a higher level of existence. It's just that I don't know about it yet. Lin Jun walked into the bank and began to deposit money. 50 billion cosmos crystals was definitely a big customer. Lin Jun once again enjoyed the flattery of the bank staff. Moreover, he was now the empire's Duke Baishin. That bank manager almost kneeled down and gave him a massage. With a cold expression, Lin Jun waited for the deposit to end. Even when he was calm and collected, he had a terrifying aura. After all, a Star Force value of 5,000 wasn't just for show. It could definitely give people a strong sense of oppression, making people not dare to act rashly. Honorable Duke, congratulations on your bank card leveling up. You are now our supreme 5-star customer. Lin Jun took the bank card and looked at the customer service manager. He casually asked, "Do you know where the headquarters of the first bank is?" "I'm very sorry, I don't know. Maybe our boss knows a little." As long as you can level up to a 9-star supreme customer, you can talk to him. "Forget it," Lin Jun just casually asked. He stood up and left the bank. "Chris, what's your current authority level? Are you able to find information regarding the Phoenix's nirvana?" Chapter 544. Hurry up and tell me the news. "Yes, Master." Chris paused for a moment, and then quickly reported the news of the Phoenix's nirvana to Lin Jun. The only way to achieve Phoenix's nirvana is to be reborn from fire. Reborn from fire? That's a new idea. Hurry up and tell me in detail. What should I do? There are 2 prerequisites. One is to have the Phoenix's bloodline power. The little Phoenix's blood flows in my body. Does it count as having the Phoenix's bloodline power? Yes, you already have this. Lin Jun waved his hand excitedly. What about the second condition? The second condition is the true meaning of Phoenix's nirvana. It requires the owner of the bloodline to use a stronger flame power at the place where the Phoenix dissipates. As long as the absolute flame power reaches a certain value and the bloodline is stimulated, the Phoenix may be reborn from the flames, and it will be even stronger than when it was alive. This is the Phoenix's nirvana. Only after experiencing Phoenix's nirvana can the Phoenix be considered a real supergalactic beast, the king of flying species. Hearing Chris's words, Lin Jun closed his eyes and thought for a while. He had the bloodline power, but he still didn't have enough flame power. Flames were divided into red, orange, white, and cyan. He had now reached the middle stage of white, which was pure white. If he upgraded it, it would be bright white, and if he upgraded it again, it would be incandescent. The flame used by Feng Qingwan was light cyan. In other words, Lin Jun needed to upgrade his flame power to medium cyan in order to let the little Phoenix be reborn from the flames. Is there any way to make the flame stronger quickly? Yes. If it were someone else, I'm afraid there would be no good way except for cultivation. But you don't need to. First of all, your flame power is strong, but you have never really cultivated it deliberately. With the dual bloodline of the Fire Qilin and the Fire Phoenix, if you cultivate seriously, your flame power will be promoted very quickly. If that's still too slow, your body is a black hole beast which has the characteristic of swallowing and digesting everything. Master, You need to obtain a large number of fire crystals and absorb the flame power in them to upgrade your flame power. Okay, where can I buy fire crystals? I'll go buy it right away. Chris said, Master, it's best that you don't be anxious. A supreme card of 5 stars and above can allow you to enjoy many conveniences, but this card has its requirements. Your card balance can't be less than 50 billion cosmos crystals. The moment you spend your money and can't deposit it again within a short period of time, your card will drop in grade. Drop a level? There was such a saying? Don't tell me it's just me? Of course not. Those level 9 Supreme card users have over 90 billion cosmos crystals in their cards for hundreds and thousands of years. This isn't just for you. Once you drop in level, if you want to level up again, you'll have to pay up to 50% of the transaction fee. This is the rule of all the banks in the universe. Lin Jun immediately felt a little depressed. It was not easy for him to upgrade his Supreme card to a 5-star card. Of course, he cannot let it drop just like that. Could it be that he had to rely on the Sky Fire Shop's income to buy fire quartz stones? Wouldn't that mean he would have to wait for God knows how long? Is there a time limit for the Phoenix's Nirvana? Or can I go there anytime? The Phoenix's Nirvana is only effective within 10 years. After this time, the Phoenix true spirit will completely dissipate into the void. By then, it won't be able to gather back, even if time reverses. 10 years. Lin Jun muttered to himself. It had been close to 5 years since the death of the little phoenix. Almost half of the time had passed. This meant that he did not have much time left. 5 years, to a warrior, might be the time for a single cultivation session. Especially at the level of a high-level warrior, it was not easy to break through each realm. It was indeed very short. Calculate for me. How much would it cost to upgrade my pure white flame to bright white? How much would it cost to upgrade it to incandescent? If you want to upgrade your pure white flame, you'll need about 1 million cubic meters of fire quartz stones. The market price of each cubic meter of fire quartz stone is 1,000 cosmos crystals. You'll need a total of 1 billion cosmos crystals. And to upgrade it to incandescent, you'll need about 5 billion cosmos crystals. It's not considered a lot. I can accept it. But if I want to earn money normally, I'm afraid I won't be able to do it in a short period of time. Don't tell me I have to rob them. Lin Jun even wanted to come up with a crooked idea to kill some bad guys and steal from them. Just as he was thinking about it, someone in the dimensional universe called him. Master, your friend Yin Chia is calling you. Do you want to connect? Yin Chia. Lin Jun froze for a moment. Since the battle with the Sky River Empire on Earth, Yin Chia's whereabouts were unknown. Lin Jun didn't know where the former #1 master on Earth went. Connect. After connecting, Yin Chia's figure appeared on the virtual screen. After not seeing him for so many years, Yin Chia has already advanced to the Nebula Level 3. This is very normal. In the past, Yin Chia was already at the 9th level of the Star Realm and was about to advance to the Black Hole Realm. Some people pass through the Black Hole Realm very quickly. Yin Chia himself is a genius. So it's normal for him to advance to the 3rd level of the Nebula level after so many years. Brother Yin, I haven't seen you for a long time. Why are you so free to look for me? After seeing Lin Jun, Yin Chia cracked a smile. My people are in trouble. Of course I have to ask for help from the Sun Lord. Although you are now the Baisheng Duke of the Fire Kirin Empire, you are still our Sun Lord. I am your fellow countrymen, and we are all Earthlings. Lin Jun couldn't help but laugh. Well, since Brother Yin said so, then I won't refuse. If you need anything, just tell me as long as I have. Alas, don't look for me to borrow money. I'm a poor man now. Yin Chia curled his lips. You've just received 10 billion cosmos crystal from the Empire, and you're still calling yourself a pauper. Perhaps only you can do such a thing. But don't worry, I'm not here to borrow money from you today. I'm here to borrow people. Borrow people? Borrow who? Who else can it be? Of course, it's you, Lin Jun. This time you have to help me. I really can't find anyone else. What's so serious about? Forget it. Let's meet and talk. I'm at the Mermaid Bar on the Chilan Sacred Planet. If it's convenient for you, come over. Lin Jun nodded and cut off the communication with the dimensional universe. He searched for the location of the Mermaid Bar, which was very far from him, about 30,000 kilometers away. Lin Jun teleported directly to the bar's entrance. He opened the door and entered, just in time to see Yin Chie holding a wine glass in the corner. After seeing Lin Jun, he was stunned, not even knowing that the wine had spilled on his clothes. Were you talking to me outside the door? Yin Chie asked blankly. I was talking to you at the south gate, which is 30,000 kilometers away from here. Yin Chie was a little speechless. You are getting more and more resourceful. A distance of 30,000 kilometers, it took you less than 5 seconds. Speak of the devil, and the devil appears. Your speed is faster than Chow Chow. Lin Jun sat opposite Yin Chie, picked up the glass of wine prepared by Yin Chie, and drank it in one gulp. Say it. It's best if what you say is a little good for me. If it can help me make money, I'll consider it. Otherwise, I'm very busy right now. Yin Chie smiled bitterly. Are you that short of money? But this thing is really good at making money, and it's very fast. What the hell is it? Fighting? Fighting? Fighting with whom? Where? My lord, do you only know how to cultivate every day? Of course, it's the dimensional arena, but it's not the arena of our Sky River Empire, nor the arena of the Sanjiang Galaxy Federation. It's the arena between the Fire Kirin Empire and other advanced civilizations. It's the arena of the entire universe. Hearing this, Lin Jun was stunned for a moment, then suddenly his eyes lit up. Yes, the dimensional arena. The dimensional arena in the Fire Kirin Empire is different from the Azura field of the Sanjiang Federation. This dimensional arena is open to the various advanced civilizations. As far as Lin Jun knows, there are a total of 36,000 advanced civilizations in the universe. Among them, the arenas of the various universe countries are nothing. Only the arena that gathers 36,000 advanced civilizations is the real highest arena. The minimum requirement to participate in this arena is to reach the black hole stage. Warriors at the star stage are not eligible to participate. The dimensional arena is divided into random matches, ladder matches, team matches, designated matches, and so on. Moreover, it's open to the entire universe, ensuring fairness and justice. There is absolutely no manipulation. This is also the best place for people to make money. Each arena has different betting amounts. After deducting 1% of the arena fee, the rest of the money is yours. Of course, most of the money is earned by the arena, but as long as you have the strength and can guarantee the victory of any battle, then you can also earn a lot of money every day. It's just that no one can guarantee victory, because you can never imagine how many amazing geniuses there are in the vast universe. And sometimes you will encounter someone whose realm is higher than yours. Even if you are a genius, if you are only at the nebula stage, then you will undoubtedly lose if you encounter a genius at the starfield stage. Unless you are willing to be cautious and stay in low-level arenas forever. But if you stay like that for a long time, some people won't be pleasing to the eye and may come to ruin your business. So there is no such thing as an invincible general. For Lin Jun, who is now in urgent need of money, this is indeed the best way. Maybe in a few days, his flame energy can be promoted from pure white to bright white. Chapter 545. Lin Jun agreed to Yin Chie's request. Even if Yin Chie didn't say anything, he still decided to enter the arena after receiving this information. Hearing Lin Jun agree, Yin Chie immediately said excitedly, "That's great. Then you can go to the arena immediately. Remember that I am in the 68th battle zone, 68399 battle zone. After you get there, you can practice by yourself. When your individual points accumulate to 1,000, you can choose to join a team. I will contact you at that time." Lin Jun nodded, then said goodbye to Yin Chie. After going out, he teleported back to the South Gate area and found a hotel to stay in. In order to enter the dimensional arena, Lin Jun first has to obtain the qualifications. This is very simple. With Lin Jun's current identity, he can pass through after verification. In a flash, Lin Jun arrived in a space. This was a high-tech space, and there were moving images and numbers all around. Hello. Welcome to the dimensional arena. Here you can fight with masters of various races in the universe. You can choose to be randomly assigned to a battle zone or enter a designated battle zone. I have entered the designated battle zone, 68th battle zone, 68399 battle zone. Soon, Linjun's data was generated. Dimensional arena, 68th battle zone, 68399 battle zone. The dimensional arena had a total of 100 large battle zones, and each battle zone had up to 100,000 small battle zones. This was mainly because there were too many warriors in the arena, so many that it was impossible to calculate. If they were all placed together, even the AI of the dimensional arena wouldn't be able to handle them, so they could only be separated one by one. Even so, the number of fighters in these communities is simply uncountable. The number of fighters in any small battle zone is also immeasurable. After all, here is facing the entire universe. Materialism believes that the universe is infinitely large. The Sky River Empire is a territory of 100,000 light-years, and the Sanjiang Federation has 8,000 such primary universe countries. The entire Fire Qilin has more than 10,000 intermediate universe countries. The Fire Qilin can be described as boundless, and here, there are more than 30,000 boundless universe countries. As for the number of fighters, there is probably no such measurement unit. After Linjun's data was generated, he immediately entered the dimensional arena. The dimensional arena had two sections. One was the personal space where one could see all sorts of battle information and leaderboards. There's also the public area, where one did not need to look up any information. It was much more convenient to communicate in battle. Martial artists could participate in team battles and all kinds of battles there. That was where the true earning of money would begin. Linjun was currently in the personal area. There was no one to guide him here, and everything could be checked through the artificial intelligence. Chris, look at my current situation. What should I do next? Master, you can now proceed to the newbie points challenge. Here, you'll get 3 points for a victory, 1 point for a draw, and 1 point for a defeat. You'll only be able to enter the team battle if you get 1,000 points. Then, in my current situation, I can only earn points, but I can't fight battles with bets. There's one way. It's an individual arena. Attack or defend. What do you mean? It's an individual arena built by a martial artist. The arena master will set up a prize pool. The challenger can choose to bet all or part of his prize pool. Can the arena be cycled endlessly? No. The upper limit of an individual arena is 100 battles. Most of the individual arenas here are also 100 battles. Linjun nodded to show that he understood. He first checked the amount of cosmos crystals that he could currently use. Linjun was really out of money. If he could not use the 50 billion cosmos crystals, he was only left with a mere 30 cosmos crystals. He then checked the starting point of the individual arena. The lowest limit for a black hole stage martial artist was 100 cosmos crystals. Anything below this number could not be set. Seems like I can only choose to attack the arena. Chris, help me see which arenas I can attack. Master, you can currently only attack the black hole stage arenas. However, 30 cosmos crystals are not enough. I suggest you borrow some money. The minimum limit for a single challenge is 100 cosmos crystals. Linjun instinctively wanted to look for his family. Yu Air and Ning both had some assets. The income of the Sun territory was with them. He did not dare to say too much, but he should still have a few tens of millions of cosmos crystals. Just as he was about to contact them, Linjun stopped. It was better not to look for his family. That would make them worried. They would think that Linjun was poor outside. Linjun did not want them to worry. As for borrowing money from others, Linjun did not want to. He simply left the individual arena and entered the public arena. The public arena could be described as a sea of people. Some martial artists were not even human. Some were like piles of rocks. One could only see their figures when they stood up. Some were like piles of metal, or even a small car or an airplane. These were all metallic life forms. There were also some that looked like wild beasts. There were also some that looked like worms. There were mermaids, undead, angels, and so on. There were all kinds of strange creatures. Looking left and right, Linjun suddenly saw a high platform. On it was clearly written the loan area. Linjun's heart moved. He immediately walked over. Can I borrow money here? What I need to do? Yes, the maximum loan limit is 10 million cosmos crystals. You just need to leave your identity. With a dimensional universe, no one can renege on their debt. The interest is 10% of the principal every day. The fastest you can pay is the next day. 10 days is a settlement period. May I ask how much do you need to borrow? Lin Jun was secretly smacking his lips. This was simply a super high interest rate loan. A loan of 10 million cosmos crystals would become 20 million cosmos crystals after 10 days. After another 10 days, it would be 40 million cosmos crystals. If there was a problem with the funds and he could not pay it back, it would definitely be a nightmare. However, Lin Jun did not need so much money now. He only needed 100 cosmos crystals. Lin Jun was confident that he could win the black hole stage arena. Moreover, Lin Jun did not like to waste money. He did not need to borrow so much. How much can I borrow at least? Can I borrow 70 cosmos crystals? Lin Jun calculated that he had 30 cosmos crystals. He only needed to borrow 70 cosmos crystals. Borrowing more would be a waste. Just as he finished speaking, a burst of laughter came from behind him. Ha ha ha. You rookie, are you here to be funny? The minimum loan limit here is 10,000 cosmos crystals. What are you going to do with 70 cosmos crystals? Buy sweets? Are you playing house? Lin Jun turned back and saw a tall demon standing behind him. This demon had green skin and 2 sharp horns on his head. He was at the peak of the black hole stage. He looked extremely valiant. Seeing Lin Jun turn back, this demon sneered. What are you looking at? I am Cha Moc from the Sky South Cosmos Nation. If you're not convinced, you can come and challenge me in my individual arena. But let me tell you, you have to bet at least 10,000 cosmos crystals to be qualified to challenge me. You're just a newbie, so don't pee your pants after a single round, haha. Lin Jun's eyebrows twitched. He was extremely unhappy with this demon. In fact, with Lin Jun's current strength, he was already looking down on the black hole stage. Leave your arena number. I will be there. The demon did not hesitate to leave his number for Lin Jun. Then he laughed and left, as if he was going to earn money again. Borrow 10,000 cosmos crystals. Since the minimum loan was 10,000 cosmos crystals, Lin Jun chose 10,000 cosmos crystals. Leaving his identity information, he got 10,000 cosmos crystals. I will return it tomorrow at the earliest. 11,000. Lin Jun nodded and turned to leave. Chris, check Chamos's arena first. Chris quickly found out. Master, Chamos has already gone through 75 matches in the arena. He currently has a record of 73 wins and 2 losses. In the 2 matches that he lost, the challengers didn't take all his bets, so he is still the champion. The total amount of money in the prize pool is 2 million cosmos crystals. Then can I challenge him repeatedly? That's not possible. Each person can only challenge each arena once. Therefore, I suggest that Master accumulate some wealth first. You have to know that in this kind of arena challenge, the more capital you have, the more money you can earn. It's like a rolling snowball. The more money you have, the more money you can earn. Understood. Immediately find out which arenas I can challenge now. I will start from the black hole stage. Now, I will let all the races in the universe know who is the number 1 in the black hole stage. I will find them for you immediately. Soon, Chris pulled out a list on the virtual screen. There were tens of thousands of individual arenas in the black hole stage, all of which were in the 68399 small battle zone. Some arenas had accumulated hundreds of millions of cosmos crystals as rewards, while others only had a few tens of thousands. Challengers could choose to challenge a portion of the prize money, or they could choose to challenge all of it. Of course, they had to have the money first. Otherwise, they would not be qualified. Shuaidu from the Rainbow Cloud Empire, 15 consecutive wins, black hole late stage. I will choose him. 10,000 cosmos crystals challenge. The letter of challenge was sent out quickly, and it was accepted in less than 20 seconds. Individual arenas. There was no right to refuse unless one did not accept the challenge. However, one would not be able to take out the prize money and could not participate in other battles. If one dared to set up an arena, one had to have the courage to accept challenges from the entire universe. The screen flashed, and Lin Jun had already entered a circular arena. There was no audience around. This kind of small challenge of 10,000 cosmos crystals did not attract much attention. What people paid attention to was those kind of grand pinnacle battles. On the opposite side, a man with long green hair and a feminine face appeared. Looking at Lin Jun with a look of contempt, this person called Shui Du snorted coldly. What a waste of my time. You kind of newbies are the most annoying. Only using 10,000 cosmos crystals at once, and then using this opportunity to exchange moves with experts everywhere, taking the opportunity to secretly learn other people's techniques. Don't you know that if the difference in strength is too big, you will not be able to learn anything at all? Of course I know. That is why I did not plan to talk nonsense with you. You are just the first step of my wealth accumulation. Lin Jun's eyes narrowed. Spiritual shock. He did not even need to use the spiritual evil spirit at all. Just a direct spiritual shock. Insta-kill. Shuedu did not even have time to react. He fell on his back and died on the spot. Ding. Master, congratulations on winning the challenge. After deducting 1% of the prize money, your current total cosmos crystals is 19,930.